minutes. I just need to do some testing stuff. Just give me a second. Why hasn't it actually started? Oh, shiz. All right, hang on. Gotta do some audio stuff. We gotta do some visual stuff. Calm down. Just give me a second. Why hasn't it actually started? Oh, shiz. Okay, the mic sounds fine. Mic sounds fine. So, now we need other things. Vampire counts. We've had some visual problems recently, so I'm just checking out some things. Grand Cathay, sure, I don't give a shit. What up, Scottish Toast? Spotify's here. So stream's looking good. Stream's looking fine. I had to, after our last stream, I've been having to decrease my settings over and over and over again to get OBS to stop disconnecting midstream and causing issues. So we finally got OBS to mostly stop causing trouble. But then I noticed that I had to decrease my bitrate so much because one of the main problems for OBS to disconnect is you're asking for too much bitrate that you don't have, and then it kind of like not soft crashes, but it just waits to play catch up. So now I'm watching the stream on the other screen. See if it's fuzzy or clear. It's kind of fuzzy. Not super fuzzy. Better than it was. Better than it was. For sure. I think it's manageable. I just wonder with the upgraded internet if I could increase the bit rate. Or what are the frames per second? I don't know. OBS, tell me what my frames per second are. Answer me! Output... highest quality, bitrate, yada yada, video, 60 frames per second. Yes, that should be that. Let me try 12,000. Can I increase the bitrate while I'm streaming? Let's find out. If I crash the stream, I'm sorry, not sorry. All right, now I watch and see if the visuals get better. I think I just saw them get better in real time. I don't know. Hard to tell. Dragon's still a little blurry from the delay, but I can't tell if that's a Total War distance thing. I don't know. We're doing some testing. We have 5 minutes until the tournament was actually supposed to start, so calm down. Calm yourself. Okay, compared to my other screen, still a little blurry. So I wonder if I increase the bitrate again. Let's try 15,000. I'm just curious. How's everybody else doing? I have the stream open, so I can't see chat, but I'm going to pretend I can see it. Also, the new microphone, if you care about that update, it's been pretty good. I think it only gets tinny and weird if I sit too far away from it, because when I'm close to it, it sounds good. So that's more of a user error thing. I need to stop scrolling so far away from it. With a mild delay, it's hard to know how long I'm supposed to just sit here waiting and looking at the screen to see when the bitrate change comes into effect. I don't know. I'll check on my YouTube stream side. The audio's current bitrate is too low. Shut up. You always give me that error. You're always incorrect. And dumb and wrong. Doing good, waiting for round 2 to begin. Fair. Okay, I don't know if this thing's actually been applying the bitrate in real time. I don't know how to check that. Now I'll leave it at 15K and just write a reminder for myself after this to check it out. Upgraded to 15K while streaming, no noticeable effect. Try later. Okay. For now, since I'm not noticing too big of a difference, we'll just ride this out and see what happens. What do I have? 2 minutes left till the actual tournament starts? Cool. Until the stream was supposed to start. I've already gotten replays because the actual tournament started about 30 minutes ago. But with these new player ones, you play Swiss rounds and all that nonsense. I generally just let them get a 30-minute head start so I can gather some replays. Boom, we have some replays. Look at all that. Look at all these. Look at all these replays. Beautiful, glorious battles. What up, Patrick? How you doing? Well, we'll see how the stream goes. I'm gonna downgrade the bitrate to 12K for now, if that even matters. And we'll see if I get a OBS is pooping its pants notification. So let's focus up, ladies and gentlemen. 1 minute until we were gonna start. Might as well get started. People will show up when they feel like showing up, which is probably never, because people don't really watch this channel anymore at all. Ever. Let me find the little info blocker. Noob setup. Bam! Boom! Bam! So, today, we have another new player tournament. This one's hosted by RTK's Big JP. He hosts one every Saturday. Conquest also hosts an advanced player conquest every Saturday. And I think he hosts Domination every weekend, but I'm not sure. Not positive on that one. I'm not involved in that project. I don't have details for you, but you can always find Big JP or any of the RTK folks on Discord. They normally know what's going on and can answer your questions better than me. Cool, cool. So, this February, we've been running an event. This one, the Best Underling Qualifier. CA, thanks CA, has worked with me. They have offered one free DLC key for all 4 qualifiers. So if you win this tournament we're about to do today, like La Luna La Pruna did previously, and Jack something. I don't remember his name offhand. Oh, I'm gonna go find it. He deserves credit. Greenskins. Those 2 have already won. Those 2 are already guaranteed a free DLC from CA of their choice. We have 2 more people to get. One we'll get today. The next one we will get on the 21st. Then we will take all 4 of these new players, and whenever, read into that how you will, whenever the next patch comes out, we will host a cool top 4 little tournament, you know, 2 semifinals and a final for these players to see who is the best, who turns out to be the best, hyping up the new patch, all that nonsense. We'll get every single DLC they don't already have for Total War Warhammer 1, 2, and 3. And if they don't have the base games for those, then I'll get those for them too. But that won't come from me. CA is just giving the top 4 a free DLC key. I'm getting the top 1 every DLC or base game they don't own. Right, so a lot on the line. You will see a little more tryhard than you're used to seeing from our new player events, but they are still new player events. The last 2 tournaments we had with this same qualifier, people were trying hard. You still saw crazy builds because new players are crazy people. One thing you have to look out for when you're like, why would this player pick X faction? When you're dealing with new players, some of them have a wide faction, you know, retinue. Some just have 1 or 2 they're really good at. So sometimes they end up in weird matchups that you wouldn't expect them to be because they're like, listen, I'm good at Nurgle. I'm going to play Nurgle. Nurgle's not very good right now, but it's the faction I know. And it is true that if you play a faction you know, it's better to do that than play an objectively better faction in the meta. Because if you play a good faction wrong, you're still going to play it fucking wrong. You're going to lose. Like, so anyway, do still see some different factions, some different builds and stuff like that. So if you're worried about it being full tryhard and you're sick of the meta, you're not going to see all of that here. Right. Let's get on with it. 4 Swiss rounds. We'll try and cast at least 1 game from every player who submits them, so everybody gets on stream at least once. And then we will cast the semifinals and finals that big JP organizes after all 4 Swiss rounds are done. First up, looks like it's Nurgle getting kited by Dark Elves, which is classic Nurgle. Hey, Scarbrand. Boy, what would you say is difference in quality compared to a new player in this tournament and someone like Alred? I'm guessing you mean Alfred. I think there's 3 big differences. So like Alfredino or any top tier player will like never forget units. Like not forget units, just AFK in the background doing nothing. And I also think it's the speed of engagement and disengagement, where more veteran players end up in bad fights because you don't get to choose every fight you're in. Like if a Centaur runs up to you with like, I don't know, what do you have? Centaur with great weapons versus a Chaos Knight. The Centaur with great weapons is going to trade up into the Chaos Knight because the Chaos Knight's armor is worthless and the Centaur is getting a free charge. But the Centaur is also faster. So it's not like you can fully disengage because the Centaur can catch up to you, but a more veteran player will more quickly pull that Knight closer to a formation, closer to Dread Spears, closer to something that can peel off the Centaur and get the Dread Knight, the Knight back online. Whereas newer players will take that bad engagement for longer, kind of figure out it's a bad engagement as it's going on, and then try and run. And they usually try and run directly away from whatever the problem is. So like, I mean, if you're engaging this and this Dark Rider Pier crossbow needs to escape and you're getting attacked from here, most new players will run this way rather than run this way. Because it's counterintuitive to run, you know, kind of in an angle where your opponent still is, right? But it's more important to get back to your own troops than it is to actually try and get away from the danger. And veteran players will do this much more, while new players will just run away much more. And then your Dark Rider Pier crossbow is eventually going to get caught, is eventually going to get knocked down. And it's just really far away from home. So that's one thing. Not forgetting units is 2. And then 3 would just be knowing what builds to take. You'll often see higher level players take micro adjustments to their builds to counter the exact faction they're facing, whereas new players tend to build a build that is solid versus anything and then play it over and over again to try and get used to it. Veteran players will like, Alfredino will go, I'll take Outriders in this and this and this matchup. I'll take Pistoliers in this and this matchup. Whereas a new player is like, I have 2 Pistoliers and I have 2 Outriders in every matchup. Right? Okay. Let's get on with this game. Okay. Game 1, we have some Dark Elves, Dark Rider Peter Crossbows, Dark Rider's Frontline, some Dread Spears and Bleak Swords, then 4 Golden Knights. Golden Knights after their recent buffs, recent relatively, I think they got the buffs at the end of last year. They are crazy now. They are amazing. You see 4 of them in like literally every matchup. Dark Elf Caster for Pasha here. Word of Pain and Soul Stealer as the 2 spells. Word of Pain's a little interesting. Not sure what that one's for, but Soul Stealer on a Dragon Lord is pretty standard. Just getting a lot of healing out of that big, expensive piece. For Nurgle, we have Marauder Frontline with some Pestigors, a couple Chaos Furies in the sky, some Plague Toads, Rotting Rider, Rot Knight ROR, a Chaos Lord of Nurgle, the melee guy, with his Father of Blades debuff and Rot or Die buff. And we do have a Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle in the back with Curse of the Leper and Stream of Corruption. Nurgle hates getting kited. Nurgle will almost always get kited because he hates getting kited. We'll see how well Pasha can keep on these 4 Dark Rider Pier crossbows. You're playing Conquest, but it does take quite a while for that point to tick up. 10 minutes after you capture it to win. 10 minutes is plenty of time for the repeater crossbows to get all their ammunition out. One thing going for Nurgle here is they did take a bunch of just shielded garbage. So it's not like the repeater crossbows have great targets. As long as the Rot Knights stay back until they're needed and don't just take free arrows for no reason, they'll be fine. It's a good thing nobody plays Dowie, right? Whenever anyone plays them, it's just plain wrong, even if they win. Yeah, Dwarves aren't my favorite faction right now. Hope the next patch brings them more into line, but we'll see. Peter Crossbow's currently just shooting at Marauders. Neither side is really happy about that. Nurgle's obviously not happy to be taking free damage on Marauders, but the repeater crossbows aren't happy to be spending their ammunition and their precious time on shooting random Marauders. Chaos Fury is getting very blobbed up. This is not ideal. It allows more of them to get hit by arrows and whatnot, and apparently more of them to get hit by a Soul Stealer. And it's not like having 4 Furies here does 4 times as much damage. The more of the same type of unit you have trying to engage something, the less response you get. Like 1 is 1, a second is like 1.3, a third is like 1.4. You know what I mean? You get decreasing value out of more and more of the same unit being here. Dark Riders ride out to get a little charge on the Marauders of Nurgle. They are overstaying in this battle a little bit, and Chaos Furies are trying to land on them, though they're currently doing the up and down jank, which is not ideal. Rotting Riders jumping on Cold Knights. This is solid. Rotting Riders, ooh, Cursed Leper overcast. Dang. Anyway, Rotting Riders want to take a fight and then back off and heal and then take a different fight somewhere else. But there's the Word of Pain. That's what it was for. Down to 11 melee attack for those guys. And they're getting shot in the back by those repeater crossbows. The exact thing we said at the start. They have to avoid those repeater crossbows. That's the only target the repeater crossbows want to shoot is the Rotting Riders. And they're now trying to path away, but Golden Knights are going to hit them all the way out. Balance power is about even still. Slightly Dark Elf favored, but about even. As Plague Toads and more Marauders and even some Pestigores catch these Golden Knights. Forcing repeater crossbows back. This is a lot of Nurgle's problem in general, though, is Nurgle just doesn't have anything to catch skirmishers. You have Chaos Furies technically, but they're usually quite easy to peel off with their low leadership and low health bars. And relatively high price point, honestly. I think they're 600, 650 gold for something that dies at the blink of an eye. So it's brutal. If you can take out the Furies, then Dark Elves can just kite Nurgle into infinity. Nothing else Nurgle has can catch Skirmish Cav. They're not fast enough, and they don't do enough damage. We're losing 2 Chaos Furies to these cavalry pieces. Some Marauders keep trying to catch the Dark Riders and just get shot in response. Chaos Fury is still chasing those guys through the trees. And we do have a Curse of the Slug, reducing their speed by 45%. There go 2 Chaos Furies of Nurgle. Murderous Prowess has been popped, giving the Dark Elves a bunch of much-needed stats. Rotting Riders getting very low. They're getting low despite the fact that these repeater crossbows have been peeled so far away by the Nurgle forces. I need to see these Dark Riders and Cold Knights come up here and rear charge the Furies. Looks like they are now, but again, these 2 Furies are the last things on the map that can threaten the Dark Rider repeater crossbows from getting all of their ammo out however they please. Plague Toads of Nurgle limping after Dark Riders that are going to outrun them. They might get rear charged by Cold Knights. We'll see. Yeah, these Cold Knights have an attack order on them. They're just having troubles locking down those jumping little toads. Soul Stealer caster looks like she took a bit of a skirmish, but is going to get back up into the sky. Soul Stealer will heal her up, and she gets to safety. Nice Stream of Corruption from Nurgle, down 2 different infantry points, though. Going to do a lot of damage. Something the Dark Elves have to consider is 1/3 of the victory points are already taken by Nurgle. So they need to get in a position to take that capture point before that gets too far out of hand. As Cold Knights clean up the last of the 4 Chaos Furies, you can see the balance power has shifted against Nurgle pretty significantly at this time, and I would definitely agree. Losing approximately 2,400 gold worth of Furies for unfortunately nothing is pretty bad. Now, do I think the player played poorly with the Furies? No, I just think Furies aren't a great answer into skirmish cavalry for a lot of reasons, and I think Nurgle feels that. Khorne also feels that. When Khorne gets kited, Chaos Furies tend to just kind of dip around and not do too much and eventually die, which is why when you see Khorne, you tend to see full cavalry, full chariot kite builds nowadays. No one takes infantry. Because you know that the Chaos Furies just aren't up to the task of hunting down skirmishers. Dark Elves coming back in force with all their cavalry. Repeater crossbows still have a good amount of ammunition. Not great targets in 2 single entities, but they can all shoot at the Rotting Riders. Kill those guys off. Nurgle is running out of infantry. There's not a lot left to hold that point, so I think after the repeater crossbows take out the Rotting Riders, that's probably going to be GG. Because no matter how long this game goes, the Dark Elves can just throw a Dread Spear or 2 over on this point. Capture it and then will down the single entities as you need to. Nice Soul Stealer in. It was a good attempt to dodge from Nurgle, but still all 3 of their units got hit with it. And then an overcast damage from whatever that was. Curse the Leper overcast onto these guys. It's just not that effective versus Dark Elves, though. Melee damage reflection is whatever, but the 60 armor is literally useless because the Dragon, the Golden Knights, and the Repeater Crossbows all have significant armor piercing. So, cool. Get more armor if you want to. We're going to punch straight through it. Rotting Riders have finally routed. So now the Dark Elf Supreme Sorceress is going to chase them off with the Skirmish Cav also firing over there to make sure that they just die and maybe don't waste all of their time. Golden Knights and Spears get a full surround onto the Chaos Lord of Nurgle. He is rather tanky, but damage is damage, and we take those. Getting close to army losses, so I think the Dark Elves are just trying to get anything they can done. Breath attack from the side, pokes this guy a little bit, but the Rotting Riders are going to rally if you leave them alone. Not that they can win this game or anything, but just saying. Army losses takes care of that, though. Hey, Trogdor. Jepadu. You were playing Dark Elves Khorne, and you got the Furies to take out the shot and run guys. Did they keep running away from you, or did they forget them and you got to land on them? Because that's very different. That's a player mistake. But you see here, as Pasha was doing, his Dark Rider repeater crossbows kept moving, and the Furies are probably going to get pitifully low damage values. Yeah, not great. I think this one, the 500, is one of the ones that was involved in that fight with a Cold Knight and a Dark Rider. We saw 2 Furies fighting them. I think the Furies that were chasing them around didn't get much value because the Dark Rider pure crossbows didn't lose that much HP, as we saw. And that's what those 2 Furies are going after. So I'm guessing the chasing Furies were probably the 259 and the 340. I could be wrong. For Pasha's Dark Elf Caster Lord did very well. Soul Stealers and Dragon. Nice value there, if played well, which looks like it was. Dark Rapier Crossbows got their value back for Kukinko. Hero and Lord did fine. Pestigors, one of them got good value. The Rotting Riders, not as much. Plague Toads, not as much. Chaos Furies did okay. Now you need them. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't take Furies. I'm just saying why people kite Nurgle and Khorne so much is Furies are not like, oh my god, he's got Furies. I need to plan my whole build around how to kill Furies. I need to take at least 6 of these and 4 of these to stop the Chaos Furies. It's more of like, oh, Chaos Furies. Okay, I mean, I'll shoot him a bit. I'll rear charge him with Light Cav, which I already have if I'm kiting you. So yeah, okay. The tools I am taking to kite you, I'll also can kill your Furies, so I don't need to diversify my build at all to just kill your Furies. Next game is Talon 17 versus I'm Not That Clever. Talon has been a frequenter of our chat recently. I think I noticed, Talon, if you're out there, I think I noticed you start showing up about like 3 weeks ago. Is that about accurate? Again, a veteran player who slaughters newbies. Jode? What is this? Okay, wait. So, are you... Jode, are you actually mad about this? Or are you just like memeing on the last stream we had? Because I'm confused. Because Pasha got 2 out of 4 last time. So in a Swiss round of 4, he won 2 and he lost 2 in a new player tournament. So I wouldn't say that the guy's a fucking pro. Rotflies and Derpy Furies are not fast enough and Toad Riders are still slow. Yeah, dude. Classic scenario, not new player. I mean, if Pasha's not a new player, then Pasha keeps losing to who? Like, if no one's a new player, then what's the point? I don't know. I don't understand this criticism. I don't understand. Pasha has played in plenty of these and he's never won. All right. For the Empire, we have Boris Todbringer in the sky with his various leadership debuffs and his self-healing. We have 1 engineer with no items, just a 360 shooting horseman. Front line of spearmen, Empire Knights, Royal Drifter fights with a Jade Wizard, Earthblood, and Regrowth, and then 2 Hawkland long rifles trying to fire through the trees. For the Vampire Coast, we have Mourngulls on the flank. Ooh, some Outriders grenade launchers. I didn't see these guys all snuck away over here. Outriders grenade launchers, which are going to tear out away from the Mourngulls. Thankfully for the Empire, it looks like they're going to tear out along the white line, not towards it. But Mourngulls, Dogs, Shade Wraith Gunners, Deck Gunners, Hand Cannon mobs, the Lamprey's Revenge, more Hand Cannon mobs, Celostra Deerfawn with her summons, and then Bombers and Deck Hands. I really want to see this Bomber turn and fire these clumped up double Spearmen. Oh, that would be juicy. I'm going to put my camera here because I refuse to miss it if it happens. But this Coast build is pretty solid. I do think the hand cannons have to move up unless he's intentionally keeping them back to counter any cavalry that try and dive the deck gunners, because, I mean, hand cannons can wreck cavalry on the charge if they get a good volley off. If you get a good volley off, it's kind of a key word, because sometimes range units don't feel like firing, but it is what it is. Oh, don't deny me this. Turn one of your bomber mobs towards that blob. I want to see the blob go boosh. On the other side, we see bombers also lighting up spearmen, but I refuse to miss the boosh that might happen as the bomber mobs are continuing outwards. Now, Celostra summons both her crabs and her damn knights errant sprint over to the Hawk and Long Rifles. The Hawk and Long Rifles are down. That's pretty bad for the Empire. They need to do something to reciprocate on the deck gunners and the Shade Wraith Gunners, otherwise they'd be in trouble. But good job from the Vampire Coast to get into the back line, recognizing that like 5 or 6 spearmen wasn't much of a front line. Okay, you used the Tide Call. You recognize the blob was there. Now the bombers are starting to turn, but the spearmen dispersed at the same time. My day is ruined! And in the background, Hand cannons take out Boris Todbringer. He is about to rout soon as Lamper's Revenge underneath him fire upwards. The Shade Wraith Gunners discouraged. Minus 16 leadership on those ghost shots also forces him to leave. The Empire is in bad straits. So what is going well? Well, Empire Knights and Royal Dwarf Gryphites still pretty healthy, and the Royal Dwarf Gryphites can get a regrowth later on. They will be completely fine. And the Royal Dwarf Gryphites are super good versus Lamper's Revenge if they can get a naked charge. Now, if you have the Lamper's Revenge fight on top of zombies or zombie polearms, the Royal Dwarf Gryphites are going to have a terrible time. They're going to have a terrible time. But, you know, in the late game, in the hypothetical situation where it's just the Lamper's Revenge and Solastra, these guys will smoke those crabs. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Hand cannons trying to line up. Like we said, they can do a lot of damage to cavalry on the charge, but it's only if they get a good shot off, and that is a pretty decent shot. I was worried they'd get obstructed because a lot of these guys are stuck in the deck gunners, but even with half their guys visible, they took half HP off the Royal Dwarf Gryphites, so that's pretty good. A regrowth onto Boris. I understand that you might have needed it, but that feels bad because he's self-healing, so you never want to spend healing on him, unfortunately. Like, you never want to. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but like having to heal a self-healing character feels bad, right? Boris gets in the hand cannons and shuts them down. Royal Gryphites are stuck grinding through these ranged units, which is okay. But now with the halberds showing up, they do need to back off, and they're not in range for a heal from the Jade Wizard because we just saw the regrowth go onto Boris. The Empire frontline has ceased to exist. Now Solastra has burned through all of her summons. We saw both of them come out. So no denizens of the deep, no ghosts of the past, nothing left like that. Solastra is just Solastra at this point. Auckland Long Rifles briefly rallying, though we do see some scurvy dogs in the back. I've seen that flag over there for quite a while, so someone was asking at the start of the stream the difference between more veteran players and more new players. Forgetting your scurvy dogs in the distance, definitely one of the signs of a new player. Because he did good work with his dogs. I believe they chased off the Outriders grenade launchers, so that's solid, that's peak. But remembering that they're there and remembering to get them back after their job is done is one of the harder things. And you asked me, like, what a veteran player does, like Alfredino or something. Like, I still forget units from time to time. I'm not as good as Alfredino, so it's a scale. It's a sliding scale. I forget units less than a new player, but I still forget them from time to time. Looks like the dogs are on the move again. We'll be good in running down the Hawk Long Rifles. There comes a much needed regrowth. It's undercast, but we'll take what we can get for the Royal Dwarf Gryphites as they run into the Shade Wraith Gunners. But they're in a very bad situation. 2 hand cannons lighting them up from different angles, and if they finish killing the Shade Wraith Gunners, they'll actually free up the hand cannons to hit them easier because there'll be less obstruction. So the Royal Dwarf Gryphites in real trouble. Jade Wizard plus the Gryphites trying to take out one of these guys. But the Lamper's Revenge are still full HP, and a Gryphite at this low of HP and Boris at this low of HP, they're getting to the point where they can't take the Lamper's Revenge anymore. So I do worry about the Empire's late game possibilities. Where are those dogs? Dogs running down the Engineer. Fine, make him use his ammo on your random dogs rather than Solastra, because already Solastra's at half HP, and I'm guessing some of that was from the Engineer just shooting her in the side. Hand cannons are going to light up Boris at point blank range. As he charges towards them, he's actually going to take more damage because their shotguns are shotguns, and they do more damage the closer you get. So Boris is dangerously low. I think the Empire is probably out of this one. Earthblood tries to heal up the Royal Dwarf Gryphites, but the Lamper's Revenge, they haven't done much this game, but they're ominous. They've just been waiting on the sidelines like, don't you worry. Eventually, all things lead back to the Lamprey's Revenge. And they charge in onto the Gryphites. Shotgun's going to fire at point blank range into these Griffins. And that's it. Jode, I asked you whether or not you're being serious, and you doubled down on either trolling or complaining. Trolling is fine. If you're actually complaining, I take issue with that because of reasons I've pointed out. Yeah, those Outriders didn't get any value, so I'm guessing the dogs we saw AFK were ones that chased those guys off. Forget my units even when they're in campaign. Yeah, I was just responding because, like, Alfredino and other top players, they never forget their units, and that's like one of the things that, you know, distances them from new players. And there's an obviously gradient in between where it's like you can be a veteran player and still make mistakes. You'll probably make less mistakes than a new player, but you'll make them. So I mean, like, wow, amazing analysis. If the players who are the best make the least mistakes, shocker. Absolute shocker. true. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's wrong. Oh, I have to save a bunch more replays. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, saved us some replays, but we'll get there when we get there. Dwarfs versus Skaven. Grimbat versus Pozdik22. Little too late, Himboy. Sorry for that. I'm not memeing. All right. But like, yeah, why I take issue with it, the very short version that I could rant about forever, but like, there's been a recent upcropping of like 4 people have this, it just like got into 4 people's craw, and now they're complaining about it constantly with like the new player stuff. People complain, so it's like, oh man, blank player is smurfing in this new player tournament. Absolute smurf, what a piece of shit. And then they lose. And it's like people just complain about him over and over again, and they're like, oh man, this player who went 2-4 in this new player tournament is a piece of garbage, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but bro, they lost. Like, and they've played in other new player tournaments. They've never won. They've never won a new player tournament. So yeah, they're still a new player, because as soon as they win one, we kick them out. And you memed on Hayseed. Hayseed didn't win one before we kicked him out. He kept getting second. And people are like, why do you keep letting Hayseed in this tournament? Because he's not winning, bro. Because he's not winning. And then like this other tournament, we had all these players come in that people were like, wow, they're not a new player. Wow, they're not this. And I'm like, none of the people you're complaining about won. Jack won. Jack was memeing with freaking flame cannons on dwarves and playing chaos dwarves without single entities. He just took like a bunch of chaos dwarf warriors and won. So no one's complaining about Jack. No one says Jack should be this tournament, and Jack wins. He beats all the people they're complaining about. It's like, what? So how are they not new players? Because they lost to a random. No one knew who Jack was. And it just bothers me. It drives me insane. Because it feels like these complaints, it feels like the only way to make the people who are complaining about this happy is to vet people by watching a bunch of the replays and make sure they don't know how to micro their units at all. If they take an army that's even remotely viable, I need to ban them because they have common sense. It's just insane. If they win a tournament, we don't let them play in future tournaments. End of story. If they're here, they haven't won shit. They've lost. Some of them have lost over and over again. I keep seeing Pasha, but Pasha hasn't won one yet. Anyway, there's my tilt. There's my trigger. Clearly he only won with meme units because he's so extremely veteran. Jesus Christ. You're gonna make me blow a damn blood vessel. Anyway, there's my rant. I'll move on. Dwarves versus Skaven, and the dwarves are going with some sneaky Vanguard Bugman's Rangers, 5 of them. Then we have 2 Iron Drakes, 2 Slayers, a bunch of Miners of Blasting Charges, Thoric Ironbrow, and a Thane. Cool. On the other side for the Skaven, we have 3 Death Runners, Rat Ogres, Skaven Slaves, 2 Warplock Jezzails, 3 Warplock Jezzails, Natty Bow Sharpshooters included. Then we have a Gracier of Ruin on his bell with just Warp Lightning. Okay. Death Runners charging up. So the Skaven player in question asked me how to beat dwarves with this matchup, so I'm going to actually review this kind of intensely from the Skaven side. Concealment bombs aren't going to help you at that close of range, obviously. And it looks like all these Death Runners are attacking the same Bugman's Ranger. Some kind of incidentally ran into this one, but you do need to spread out who they're attacking so they can get through these guys more quickly. Rat Ogres are pretty useless in this matchup. Slayers make mincemeat out of them. Dwarven Archers also kill Rat Ogres very easily, and Rat Ogres don't get much damage out against Dwarf Warriors. So Rat Ogres are a waste of money. Gracier on a bell is unfortunately a waste of money. He's also weak to Slayers and Cannons and Iron Drake, Trollhammer, Torpedoes, and all that stuff, so you really don't want your Gracier to be up in the sky. Put him on foot. And then the 3 Jezzails on this tree-laden map, you got to find angles of fire for them that don't go through the trees, because we can see right now very few of the bullets are making it through the trees. And the Rat Ogres and the Skaven Slaves stop in place on the charge. So that is also going to be detrimental to winning this matchup at the moment. Now they're starting to move again. But the player in question was asking me how to beat Dwarves and said they're OP, and I'm already noticing that it's like, I mean, you got to get your units moving. Now the Rat Ogres are moving forward without the front line at all, so I have to, I'm going to have to push back that this matchup is unwinnable for the Skaven and just say your units aren't getting used optimally. Deathrunners are starting to get through the Bugman's Rangers now, but Slayers and other nonsense showed up to bail them out. And these Rat Ogres are fighting completely alone, which just can't happen. Like, all these Skaven Slave Spears need to get up here. Also, don't bother with a Spear variant of anything versus Dwarves, because they get a little extra melee defense, but they lose so much elsewhere, and they're more expensive, and the Dwarves don't have any large targets. But the Rat Ogres getting isolated and killed off is a pretty bad loss from the Skaven. Their Jezzails are still trying to shoot through trees and can't see anything. We have this engagement is finally going well for the Skaven. It's 2 Death Runners and Rat Ogre catching up Bugman's Rangers. That's solid, that's fine. But the front line not moving up with the Rat Ogres was a disaster, just an objective disaster. We lost 3 Death Runners on the side as well. So things aren't going great for the Skaven. At this point, they just don't have the muscles left to win anymore. I know it feels easy early to call GG. The balance of power is actually slightly Skaven favored, but the Jezzails have used a lot of their ammunition, not getting much value after firing through the trees. And now they're going to get into that late game situation where Slayers can run them down. Slayers are actually faster. So Slayers are going to start running them down. Miners are going to start distracting them. And your real oomph, your real muscle left is 1 Rat Ogre and a bunch of Skaven Slaves. It's pretty whatever. I guess we still have 2 Death Runners that are decently healthy. But Iron Drakes are one of the few things on the Dwarven roster that can actually take out Death Runners. So if these guys see it coming and the Dwarves turn, this is about to be a very dead Death Runner. All right, watch. Watch his HP bar. Watch it. Watch it happen. Whee! Up the line. Ow! Damage! There goes like 1/3 of my HP, plus a burnt leadership debuff. Ow! And now you might be like, well, the Death Runners were in that silly column formation. They take about as much damage if they're spread out, because then the Flamethrowers will spread their fire as well. Flamethrowers are just really good versus Death Runners, so are Blasting Charges. Death Runners are still solid in this matchup, but you normally want to throw your Skaven Slave front line into the front line, make the Miners with Blasting Charges, throw their Blasting Charges at the Skaven Slaves, and then the Death Runners hit and get through, and then Iron Drakes can't see anything. And if the Iron Drakes get deployed on the front line, then you use your Jezzails to snipe them out. But this map is not helping, but also the Jezzails aren't seeking out firing lines. Like, the Dwarves used to be back here. You could set up Jezzails here. Why didn't I get my paintbrush? You could set up Jezzails here, and there's only a couple trees in your way. You can probably shoot through those. But the angles of fire these guys are having to take, now this guy is finally getting a decent shot. This guy is firing through so much forest, he's never going to hit anything. And previously, this guy was having to fire through these 2 forests, so he wasn't getting anything done. This guy was firing through this thicket. So the Jezzails needed to be placed where they could fire through gaps in the lines. But with this type of map, you might want to skip the Jezzails altogether and go full rush. Save that money and spend it on maybe some Wolf Rats, probably more Death Runners, Plague Monks, Globes. Because globes don't get nearly as interfered with trees, because you have to get so close that they can still throw the trees through the trees anyway. Or you could go with ranged units that fire up and over the trees, like the avalanche mortars. Also acceptable, but the straight shot Jezzails are just getting completely cucked by the map and the placement. Bounce Power still doesn't believe the Skaven are screwed. I am doubtful, as we have Death Runners, might be able to finish off the Miners of Blasting Charges. Might, possibly. 1 full health Death Runner still running around. We still have healthy Jezzails, but they don't have a lot of ammunition left at this point. And Thoric is getting a little low. So is the Gracier, to be fair. And Athane is going to go find him. Bap him. Bap him on his nose. I got him, even ranting. Your first time trolling. I asked you if you're trolling and you said you're being completely serious. You're just a liar at that point. Why is Human Boy casting their new player tournament? Let's get this veteran out of here. Ah, shit. Ooh, is my tea ready to be drank? Is it still flaming hot? Flaming hot Cheetos? Ah, that's perfect tea temperature. All right. Gracier's falling back. I've taken a bunch of damage. Jezzails are finally getting good shots onto the Thane and Thoric because they're at close range and there's no trees in their way. But might be too late for them. Some more Blinding Casts are doing okay. Bugman's Ranger's getting in range and is going to start firing at the Jezzails. Is pretty bad. And this used to be our healthy Death Runner, and still the Troll Hammers, sorry, the Iron Drakes just firing at point blank range, discouraging those guys. Iron Drakes are good in this matchup. Usually need Jezzails or Globes to deal with them and just avoid them with your Death Runners till a late game. But again, this map really hampered Grimbat's ability to use the Jezzails and hurt them. Dwarves control the point. They're already halfway stacked up. They also have a lead on the balance of power. They also have Bugman's Rangers healing up in the background, and this Grey Seer just routed, which leads to army losses. There's always the first time running. Apparently, to be fair, it's cheap dwarf force while Skaven somewhat elite, so I'm not complaining that much. On this map, Doom players would have been good too. True DVP, true. Doom players, the only complaint I have about them in this matchup is if the dwarves bring any artillery whatsoever, the Doom players will end up getting caught on the artillery pieces and then Slayers tear them to pieces. But yeah, they're not bad. You just have to be really careful to remember where the enemy bolt throwers used to be or the enemy cannons used to be. I think Pozdic's build was very nice for this map. He didn't take anything long range. He kept everything medium range, and then the trees didn't mess with him too much. Because if he had like 2 cannons and a bolt thrower, they would have been useless, but he just didn't bother. I don't know if he should have put those Bugman's Rangers in the Vanguard like that. It felt a little risky. And one of the packs of Bugman's Rangers did get caught out and killed for free. The other ones got to fight back for a little bit because the Death Runners got clumped in a weird way, and they lasted long enough for reinforcements. But yeah, probably not wise to move them that far forward because there's just not a lot of benefit. Your Bugman's Rangers can't outrun anything the Skaven have. So you might get a surprise single volley, and then Jezzails or Globes are going to shoot you while you try and run away from Death Runners, who will eventually find you and kill you like you did. So I don't know. It's sneaky and it's like thematic and kind of funny, but if you want my actual feedback on winning games, you shouldn't deploy your Bugman's Rangers that far out versus Skaven. There's no upside to it. Aren't Doom players a bit overtuned right now? Ah, they used to be. Now they're just kind of okay. Is that Kolek from Random Cuban? Why do I remember that name? Random Cuban sounds familiar. No, sir, I am no liar. I wrote to you in chat. I am a little slow because I'm very sick. Joe Day, you said you weren't trolling. And then you said you were trolling. You said, a little late, human voice, sorry for that, I am not memeing. And then later on, you said you were memeing. So, no. That is a lie. I have caught you lying. I refuse to discuss this further. Why am I being pinged? Okay. So, what do we have? Kolek Suneater, my favorite looking Warriors of Chaos Lord, though he has been struggling for quite a while. So we have Kolek Suneater, we have a Chaos Sorcerer of Death with Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech, a front line of Marauders backed up by Chaos Warriors with Halberds, and then we have triple Blood Beast of Khorne and triple Marauder Horsemen with Throwing Axes. And on the side for the Lizardmen, we have the Shredder of Lustria and the Kai the Wanderer with overlapping leadership debuffs, -8 and -8 apiece. So that is -16 for anyone that gets near them. That is very hard to hold on. Backed up by Saurus Warriors, Skink Skirmishers, some Skink Cohorts, and Red Crested Skinks. We do have a Skink Priest of Heavens with Thunderbolt and Harmonic Convergence, and then some Croxagores and a Rev Crystal. But people can't be mad because we have our first sighting of Saurus in like 8 years. There are Saurus. Chaos Warriors with Halberds marching forward with Kolek. This is a lot of anti-large fighting against the Shredder of Lustria and the Kai. This should be a winning fight on paper for the Warriors of Chaos, but doesn't have a way of working out for the Warriors of Chaos recently, as Chaos Warriors with Halberds have been long outscaled by other types of Halberd units, and Kolek is just kind of a jank monster. The overlapping leadership debuffs get the Chaos Warriors to almost terror out at nearly full HP. They're thinking about running. So is Kolek. That's so much leadership debuffing. But a terror out already in for the Saurus Spears, followed by a terror out from the Chaos Warriors. No, they continue to hold. They're vibing. They're chilling. Kolek is not, however. He's down to half HP as the Blood Beasts of Khorne and Marauders are trying to get through the sides, killing a bunch of Skinks off quickly. But the Shredder of Lustria stays there. The Chaos Warriors finally terror out, but another one is in the fight as well. Kolek's down to a half HP with the Shredder, taking a lot of damage. Harmonic Convergence giving it 65 melee defense. Needs a Rev Crystal shot. I wonder if that's on cooldown. I think it already maybe gave a bit of healing, a teeny tiny amount, as Kolek continues to fight, refusing to surrender or back down. He's just slapping at the Dread Saurian with his giant hammer as a flag gets in my way. The Dread Saurian is actually going to rout Focus Instinct stops a rampage. It doesn't actually add any leadership. And the Dreadsaurian has been, there we go. That leadership bar was negative for a very long time without him routing, so the Dreadsaurian is on its way out, but maybe Kolek is too, as Nakai has been cautiously... Why is Nakai getting Rev Crystal? Bro, Rev Crystal the Shredder! What? No! Oh no. I don't know if it was a misclick or what, but Nakai getting a heal he absolutely did not need as the Shredder is fighting for its life right now. Kolek gets routed off, but Nakai is not available to chase it down. Instead, he's contributing his terror to other fights, is trying to help rout off these various marauders and buy the Lizardmen a little bit of space as a Spirit Leech comes in for him. Kolek rallies to the force. He's going to come back. We still have 3 Skirmish Cav throwing. And the Blood Beasts start to chase the Shredder of Lustria. Maybe Skink Skirmishers can save it. Maybe, possibly. Actually, are they chasing the Shredder, or are they fighting these Skink Skirmishers, who are also walking the same direction as the Shredder? I'm not sure. I'm not positive. More terror routes away from Nakai. But there are a lot of Blood Beasts of Khorne around. Oh! He just uppercuts one. Holy. Nakai's animations are some of the best. Bam! Bops him on the snoot, and he dies! He just killed one, and he punches another one! Oh, I love Nakai. I love Nakai's animations, they're so funny. I'm glad he's solid now. Again, I don't think he's the best Lizardman Lord, like, on paper, but he's definitely very workable. I think Slans are still probably the best answer in most matchups. The Blood Beasts are, in fact, trying to chase down the Shredder, getting slowed barely by Skink cohorts. Can they rally the Shredder, who has positive leadership, just needs to get away, but those Blood Beasts are insistent. He has 4 more speed, but he is pathing uphill through trees, which is slowing him down a little bit, but the Blood Beasts are also slowing down. Can the Shredder come back? Meanwhile, in the distance, I don't know, there's a fight, but this is the only thing I care about. I just want to see if the Shredder comes home. Plus 16 leadership. The Blood Beasts are falling a little bit further behind, but it looks like he is not going to be able to rally. No, he goes off the battlefield. No Shredder of Lustria for you. Those Blood Beasts are also probably doomed because that's a lot of Skirmish Skinks just killing them. Randon's Thunderbolt trying to kill off Halberds. It'll hit a couple of them. Ooh, Marauder Horsemen dive right into the Thunderbolt, though. That's going to be juicy. Bam! Big damage for such a cheap little spell. Kolek still thundering around. Star Crusher and Tempest Rage both popped. He's going to jump in on the Heaven's Caster. Big hit. Wasn't sure if he was going to knock him over or not, but it seems like he did both. He hit him and knocked him over, which is ideal. One more hit and that'll send that guy routing. Bam! You missed. Nakai surrounded in Halberds and Blood Beast, taking a lot of damage, not enjoying himself whatsoever. There's the Kolek I know, knocking the Skink Priest actually to safety by hitting him far away. Crocscore is coming over to try and help out, but Nakai is continually getting worked down. Loses 700 HP before our eyes. He continues to just get bodied by all these Halberds. Look at poor Nakai. Now he's starting to path out, but there's a Blood Beast back stopping him. Another one jumps and punches him in the back of the head. He's like, we can punch too. Bam! Bam! But his terror route saves him, getting the Blood Beast out of his way. Crocscores pile onto Kolek, and they know the only way to win at this point is to kill Kolek and somehow terror out the rest of the army for the Warriors of Chaos. Skink Skirmishers coming back to shoot at those Blood Beasts. Crocscore's terror routing away, and Nakai is trying to wade through a pile of horsemen to get to Kolek, and Kolek says absolutely not and runs to safety. Skink Priest of Heavens and Nakai, the only 2 still standing, bounce power turns against Lizardmen pretty significantly. I don't believe 3 Skirmish Skinks can carry this whole game. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned like that. As more Halberds pile onto Nakai, they're gonna find him. Look at all those Halberds. Right there, right next to him. Harmonic Convergence giving Nakai 89-64 for melee stats, and a Thunderbolt right on top of his head. Does it friendly fire Nakai? Possibly. Watch his HP. Watch it. Watch it. Watch it. No! Okay, it didn't really friendly fire him. A horseman crossed over my mouse the exact moment I didn't need it to. Nakai might be able to rout those Chaos Warriors, depending on if they're immune to terror right now, or if he has his -8 leadership up. Doesn't look like he does. He wants to go get a fight with Kolek to end it out, because this game is over. He just wants one honorable duel with Kolek Suneater. And Kolek's not willing to give him any chance back into this game, so Kolek's just going to opt out. He doesn't want this. He doesn't want this smoke. Or does he? Or does he? The dance has started. The dancing man is in. It's over. Whoa, the dancing man. Oh, it's over. Never mind. He's not going to dance. He's dancing. Hits Kolek. Kolek does take the fight. He gets Star Crusher and Tempest range down. He needs to hit Nakai, but he can't do it. Nakai is too spooky. Nakai is too scary. Man, if Kolek gets a hit in, he will body this fool, but he's just not. Army losses hits as both of them just stare at each other, just T-posing. As Nakai, like, sniffs his belly button and Kolek gets very confused and uncomfortable. The battle just ends. Jode? Jode, you know what? Fair. Fair, Jode. You know what, Jode? You know what, Jode? That's fair. Yeah, in English, trolling and memeing are like the same thing. It's all good. It's all good. Just looking around the values. Shredder did okay, but got focused down pretty heavily by Warriors of Chaos. Blood Beasts of Khorne, a good addition for the Warriors of Chaos, getting them a fast monstrous infantry that they've been lacking. Trolls were not up to the task. Blood Beasts certainly are. Bringing the Shredder Bluster without actual healing is illegal. Okay, not like literally illegal, but illegal emotionally. Yeah, it's emotionally illegal. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's the Acid Burper. We need to cast that game. Okay. Okay. Where's the Chaos any good right now? What makes them strong? They're lower half of factions for sure. They're lower half. They're not terrible. Not horrible, but like, they're not good. I don't think a lot of people consider them to be in a solid spot right now. Unfortunately. The problem with the Warriors of Chaos is very short. It is, as we load up Lucky Spotify versus Anarian. The main problem with the Warriors of Chaos is their specialty is heavy infantry, and currently the meta, infantry are doing the worst. Infantry are not good in the current meta. Everything monstrous or large or fast is what's strong, not infantry in general. Because everything got added like collision attacks, so monstrous infantry and large monsters are way better at killing out infantry than they used to be. So now it's like, okay, ranged damage can kill infantry, cavalry cycle charge can kill infantry, monstrous infantry can kill infantry, and big monsters kill infantry. What can infantry kill? Other infantry. so it's like, wait a second, the only thing that infantry counters is infantry, which everybody counters, so why bother taking any? So a lot of matchups, you don't see any infantry anymore. It's just about mobility. That's way oversimplifying it, but you get the point. All right, game starts out, and Fleshhounds of Khorne charge way too far in, and they immediately get netted by Techless, so they're just stuck fighting Frostheart Phoenixes and Spearmen. Not a good time for them. Anyway, for the overall builds, we have a Fleshhound, we have 4 Chaos Furies of Khorne, a front line of 5 Bloodletters, 2 Minotaurs of Khorne with great weapons, and Arbol the Undefeated with his Chaos Spawn Summon and his Explosion. On the other side for the High Elves, we have triple Birds, 2 Frostheart Phoenixes, and Techless, Regrowth, Net, and Flock of Doom, and then a bunch of Spearmen, Rangers, Silverin Guard, and that is it. That is a full melee High Elf into Khorne. Not trying to do any range, not trying to have any cavalry at all. It's funny that I just said, like, the meta shifted away from infantry, and then the High Elves went, what about infantry? Listen, I'm taking all infantry. I do worry because the Bloodletter's going to have a fantastic time. Look at these Spearmen. Look at these Spearmen just getting massacred by the Bloodletters right now. Khorne specializes in killing infantry, so I don't think taking full infantry to them is going to work out. Now, you do have 3 single entities in the Phoenixes. We'll have to see a lot of value out of them because the High Elf frontline is having a bad time. 2 Bloodletters stacked up on each other. Some are actually trying to get past, but they are getting, you know, a little clumped. Isn't great. They'll have to watch out. If Techless has that bound fiery convocation, he might chuck it right there, and then you need to be ready to dodge. Frostheart Phoenixes trying to get any damage out they can, though they're a little more of a supportive unit with their really good aura. They have an amazing aura, but they themselves are pretty whatever at clearing out anything in melee, so I worry about them. Khorne is cleaving through this front line of High Elves. Only the Silverin Guard are holding, and that's, you know, for now. I don't know how long they've actually been fighting those Bloodletters. Silverin Guard seems to be all it remains, where regular Spearmen have taken a ton of damage. And Techless and the Frostheart Phoenix haven't committed to a fight for a while. They kind of wandered over to the capture point. I don't know what that was about. I wonder if he didn't know that flying units can't capture. But now they're back, and they're kind of forming a 3-bird hero hammer that is attempting to fight Bloodletters. And I mean, they all do magic damage, so I guess they'll do fine there. But like I said before, bird mounts aren't aren't actually the best at killing infantry at all. So with spearmen and 3 birds, these bloodletters will actually still take a while to kill. And meanwhile, Khorne is charging up a ton of army passive by murdering all this stuff. They probably have enough for a Sword of Khorne now. I wonder if they're just going to spam out Horns of Khorne or the tier 2 army ability. I wouldn't hate for the tier 2 army ability to get used on this bloodletter whenever it's about to crumble. Just keep it in the fight, keep it swinging at spearmen and techless and stuff. That seems fine. Sword of Khorne can also be good, considering the High Elves went with mostly infantry. You can use Sword of Khorne to clear them out. Though recently, my thoughts on Sword of Khorne have changed. Sword of Khorne's amazing, and I love it as a caster, and I love it as a person. I think it's super cool. But you are using an army ability you generated off of killing infantry to kill infantry that you then can't get for more of your army abilities. So I'm kind of like, oh, maybe Sword of Khorne is a bit self-defeating. So I can see it when Khorne players just want to spam Horn of Khorne over and over again. I get it. But also, Sword of Khorne's so cool. It's just so cool. Furies fade away. Khorne is falling behind in the balance of power. I think that's fine. I think there's a little bit of, yeah, there it is. This is Sword of Khorne. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I don't care about your facts and your stats and your logic and your nuance. I just like big sword goes boosh and all the High Elves die. Ugh, love it. This is my favorite thing. Bloodletters are fading away on some sides, but the High Elves are running dangerously low on models. They have lost about 900 models to Khorne, including those Silvering Guard we talked about before. And why I said the balance power is a little fraudulent is Techless is crazy expensive, and the Frostheart Phoenixes are half support, half duelist or whatever. So you have a lot of not good stats piled up in these guys, and the balance of power mostly cares about how much you cost. So being expensive is good for the balance of power. Now, Minotaurs don't care how much you cost. They care what your stats are. And I'm telling you that those birds do not have the stats to kill these Minotaurs. That's what I care about. And that's why I say this balance of power is fraudulent. Frostheart Phoenix is currently getting bodied by a Chaos Spawn summon from Arbol, and Arbol himself getting some good damage out, but in come the Minotaurs. We are fighting on top of Bloodletter support, and that balance of power, you are going to see it crater out for the High Elves and end in army losses pretty soon, I would imagine, as these birds are going to start taking big damage. We do have some Spearmen, we have some other Silvering Guard that might try and get rallied to the fight, but it's not looking likely, as the last defenders of these birds have shattered away. Now they're just completely surrounded. Techless uses a regrowth on an on-fire Frostheart Phoenix, so it's going to get half of that healing, and it's not even an overcast, so it's not even like it's going to be a huge amount of healing to begin with. Arbol and his Bloodletter is going to go fight Silvering Guard. Bam! Slaps a couple. Gets some routing, most likely. Nah, they're High Elves. They're fine. The leadership's chilling. Nice Flock of Doom in from Techless. Bounce Power's like, wait a second, I don't know if 3 birds can actually beat all these Minotaurs. And I'm like, they can't. I know. Frostheart Phoenixes are the only Phoenixes that don't have a rebirth, so the health they have is what they have, unless Techless heals them, which we just saw he used a regrowth, so it's probably not off of cooldown just yet. One Frostheart Phoenix is down. Another Frostheart Phoenix is super close to routing, and Techless takes a final fight with Arbol. Arbol has way better stats than Techless, though Techless has a lot more healing and a much higher HP pool, so maybe he could clutch it out, but I think 1-to-1, man-to-man, just left fighting, Arbol would eventually start winning when his charge bonus wore off from Techless, and Techless realizes this, tries to get away, and the Fleshhound gets one more little chomp on him, but Techless has been safe long enough that he will get back into the sky. Bloodletters capture the point. Flock of Doom out from Techless. Frostheart Phoenix might rally. High Elven leadership is strong. As Arbol and the boys fall back to the point. I was trying to rally a bit of forces. Bloodletter's going to collapse in on the last of the Spearmen. Minotaurs will charge to the Rangers, and they're afraid of nothing. They want to proc the only flying units leadership debuff on the High Elves, so they're going to kill off all the stuff on the ground as quickly as possible and just force you to land or lose. Minotaurs charge back in. Potion of Croy healing up Techless, giving him 40% damage resistance. And some Bloodletters are thinking about routing. The High Elves need to lose those Rangers. There we go, because then the Bloodletters will get that nearby enemies routing. Enemies routing, you see +5 leadership. So those Rangers routing was actually pretty huge. Arbol charges in, gets a duel once again with Techless. Has a couple Minotaur bodyguards that are going to turn and start slapping the big Phoenix. Bounce power is going down, down, down. And that is what it is. I feel like Warriors of Chaos relies on trying to build rush, build roulette by people bringing odd specialist tools. Yeah. By the way, you're a good caster, not a good player at all. Joe Day! That is classic Joe Day. That is classic. Love it. That's funny. Hope you're doing well, Joe Day. Sorry to hear you're sick, buddy. Inticity's loving their cheap cavalry. Yeah, that's a domination. I think I see you post later on. Domination, land battles, and conquest all a little different. In land battles and conquest, you can only take 4 or 5 marked units. I forget what the unit cap is specifically. And that really hinders them. If you didn't have marked limits, whereas it has to be a lot stronger, but you're trading your marks between your Lord, Hellstriders, and Blood Beasts most of the time, so it's pretty difficult to also get the most out of your infantry, get the most out of other things. Yeah. They're not terrible. I'm not trying to say the Warriors of Chaos are terrible. They're just not... They're not in the upper half of factions. Right. Let me check in on things. So, there's a lot more replays coming in. But I don't know how many of them I need. Let me check the bracket. Because we just got to fill time till semifinals and finals. We are most of the way through round 3 out of 4. So I feel like I have enough replays saved. Feel like. But a couple people sent me some that they said were particularly good. Could cast some of those. I'll save them up. If we don't need them, we don't need them. I don't think we've cast an airstrikes game yet. Yeah, we were going to, but he said this one is much better. So we can cast this one. Still achieves my goal of casting everybody at least once if they were playing in this tournament, while also getting the best possible games, I suppose. So, 1001 airstrikes on his Grand Cathay versus Johnny Cash's Lizardmen. Let's go. Sword of Khorne would be good for getting some annoying leftover halberds experience in the late game. Yeah. Lucinia, sure. Yeah. I just know, like, for a long time, I've been a Sword of Khorne stan, and then after watching enough Khorne games, I'm like, oh, I see why not everyone uses it in every situation. Where, like, if I had a Sword of Khorne, I would use it on Sword of Khorne, right? I wouldn't use it for the Horn of Khorne or whatever. If I had it, I would just default use it, and I'd throw it wherever. And I'm like, wait, that's probably not always smart. How does one sign up to participate in these new player tournaments? On my Discord, I post ones I host, which I host like every other week or every 3 weeks. JP hosts this one on every weekend, every Saturday. He also posts on my Discord, so if you're on my Discord, just look in the tournaments tab. Or this one's on the RTK Citadel server. But yeah, like if you're in our Discords, you'll see the announcement. You can just sign up. Also, they're on Total Tavern. That's Turin's website. JP hosts them there. I tend to host them there too because Turin is very famous and popular, so a lot of people go to his area looking for that kind of stuff. Wow, that Shem's Burning Gaze just took out 2 Grand Cannons. What the heck? So yeah, my server, RTK server, or just look at Total Tavern and see the tournaments coming up, and then you can usually sign up there. But we have a game to focus on. Is apparently a Slaane's Mage Priest with Shem's Burning Gaze. I believe that was Overcast, is the secret tech to taking out Grand Cathay cannons. And I love how the cannons are not having that anymore. All of them turn onto the Slann. They're like, you! Though he is hiding under the Quaddle, so he's often stalked. Interesting. The Quaddle's bound spells are coming out to disrupt some of the Jade Warrior Halberd front line. Meanwhile, Skink Cohorts are charging forward. We have Feral Cold Ones and Triple Reproductor Rider in the Forest and Vanguard. For Grand Cathay, we have a Dragon-Blooded Shugen Lord of Yin with her summon and her slow, a front line of Jade Warrior Halberds backed up by Iron Hail Gunners, the Grace of Ki Yin and Jade Warrior Crossbows, and then 2 Grand Cannons that are still trying to fire at the Slann whenever they can see him from beneath the Quaddle's stealthed gaze. You can see that now that they can see him, big damage, though I imagine the Slann is saving up for another Shem's Burning Gaze because he can just take out another cannon outright. But every time the Yin Lord gets too close, they can see him. Because you might be like, how can they see him right now? He hasn't done anything. Yeah, but the Yin Lord keeps getting a little closer and closer. This Quaddle is currently getting deleted by the Grace of Ki Yin. Very, very low. The Salon is now left out to dry as the other Quaddle moves forward, but the Ripperdactyl dive is in, and they're just going to try and knock out the cannons before the Salon dies. The Dragonblood Shogun Lord sees her opportunity, though. There's no one left defending the Salon, so she doesn't even need the cannon. She thinks about doing it herself, but then she backs off. I'm actually kind of surprised she didn't just go for the Salon there, as this cannon, despite how in danger it is, it's still firing its last couple volleys onto the Salon to try and take him out, but the Salon knows all things. He has seen the great plan, and he routes from nothing. Oops, he's routing. Oopsie poopsie, there goes the Salon. Cannon shots come out. There's the Ancestral Warrior Summon from Cathay to break up the back line. Balance of power is slightly Cathay favored, though I worry this game is about to fall into the ranged trap, where you get very far ahead with your ranged units at the start, and then when your ranged units get disrupted, you get slowly picked apart and fed to the wolves. One Quaddle has shattered, however, and the Salon is dead. That is huge for determining how this game comes out. So now that the Lizardman Lord is actually dead, you can see their leadership falls apart, and a lot of them are starting to rout. That is very, very, very important for Grand Cathay if they're going to hold it together as the battle descends into chaos. Now, this Ancestral Warrior's Halberd is fake. It's going to fade away, and after that, you're going to have routing Jade Warrior Crossbows, routing Grand Cannons, routing Iron Hill Gunners, and we're going to see if the Grace of Ki Yin and melee units can clutch this out, as the Salamander Hunting Pack has been brought up from the reserves. They were trying to hide until the cannons were shut down. Now they're here, and what the heck? They're doing so much damage to that Shogun Lord, as some of them fired at point-blank range. Other ones are moving in to fight, but the Grace of Ki Yin with guard mode on are trying to protect her, trying to get that extra damage out. As the Ripperdactyl Riders dive back in, the Quaddle is still just rampaging through. It recently got collision attacks in the winter. Don't know what exact patch that was, but it did help it clear out infantry a lot more quickly. So now the Quaddles are pretty good distraction pieces. They're still quite bad duelists. They're still very expensive and all that stuff, but their crazy model shape makes it very hard for ranged units to hit them, as you can see, and their attack animations just drive them all over the place. Now with collision attacks, they can clear out infantry. I don't think they're crazy OP, but you do see them a lot when Grand Cathay, you see them a lot when the Lizardmen need to clear out box builds, like versus Dwarves, versus Skaven, versus Grand Cathay. They're really good at just annoying infantry forever, but he is getting ground down by all these halberds surrounding him. Second Ancestral Warrior Summon, I thought I saw it happening out here, but it didn't end up completing. Oh, he got the bug! It's a disaster! You hate to see it. I saw the portal, and I know that he has 0 casts left, so he got the bug. That still happens sometimes, and I don't know what triggers it, but it just happens where you'll summon something, and it just won't appear, and you still get burned on the Winds of Magic and the summon. I swear it happens with Ancestral Warriors the most. I've never seen it happen with Clan Rats. I've seen it happen like sometimes with I saw Zombies for the Vampire Coast. That was it. A pistol summon had the thing and just didn't trigger, which is weird, but it still counted for the Winds of Magic, still counted for everything. It just no pistol summon showed up in the end. And I see it actually a decent amount with the Ancestral Warrior summon, so don't know what that is. For the Lizardmen, we still have some Ripperdactyls. We still have a Quaddle, though they're all very low on leadership and HP. You still have the Umbral Tide, who are very healthy, though they don't do that much damage to infantry, as we can see here. They don't have great armor-piercing shots, and they do have anti-large, which is useless versus infantry, obviously. But the positives would be Cathay is getting down to just random peasants and whatnot. I mean, it's something. There we go. OBS disconnecting, reconnecting. The famed Salon Sniper. Yeah, that was cool. Being shot at by cannons seems like a good reason to rout. I would too. Hate how stiff the Quaddles look when they're turning around. The Ancestral Warriors are quite bugged. So Lizardmen are trying to kite this out a little bit, chase off what they can, but the Quaddle getting taken out is bad. That's your last real source of terror. And I think Grand Cathay has it from this point. I'm going to fast forward as each side just does some chasing and a little bit of kiting. But I think if the Grace of Ki Yin get one good volley on the Salamanders, it's going to army loss them. Dun, 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 dun. Ripperdactyls overhead, trying to do what they can. Balance of power is very low for Lizardmen, so if they take any real damage, they are just going to army loss. And Storm of Shadows overcast onto them is probably the straw that broke the camel's back. There go all Lizardmen. GG. Bye, Geoday. Geoday's leaving. Celestial Dragon Crossbows and Jade Warrior Crossbows did fine. Cannons did fine. Iron Hail Gunners didn't have great targets. That's one of the strengths of the Quaddles, is they're very, very hard to shoot, even at close range, so don't blame the Iron Hails there. But the Halberds and the Spears doing their exact jobs. 401 and 401, huh? Exact damage value. But, yeah. It's a good Cathay box. Staunch Spears holding the line. For Johnny Cash. Herpodactyls did all right. Quaddles did all right. Salamanders did all right. But nothing really stepping up to carry the game. I think it's because his lord was fighting and the spell was too close. It's possible. It's possible. Gormbjorn. I have another Gormbjorn game. And that one has double Slaughter Brute. So I'm probably going to skip Cathay versus Khorne here. This looks pretty whatever. And I can cover both the players. I just watched Airstrikes. We can watch Gormbjorn up here. So let's just go do that so Gormbjorn doesn't get ignored. Skaven versus Khorne with double Slaughter Brute. I am suspicious, but whatever. I'll try anything once. Double Slaughter Brute. Here's the thing about the Slaughter Brute, is I actually thought about them the other day. On paper, they don't seem that bad. They are. They are objectively terrible. But on paper, they don't seem that bad. A monster with high stats that's unbreakable until the Lord dies. You could take a cheap Lord like Valkia and just make her nearly impossible to kill. And then you have unbreakable monsters running around. That sounds good, and then you watch this unit do literally nothing. So, I don't know. Versus Skaven, I mean, an unbreakable terror-causing monster sounds lit, so let's see. This is one of the matchups where it could be good. Triple Chaos Warrior of Khorne with a Marauder, Chaos Furies surrounding the enemy, Hellforged Bellowers, double Slaughter Brute, and a Blood Speaker on foot with his heal for other stuff, and then his minus leadership and unbreakable for his own troops. The Chaos Warriors are honestly the only part of this build that I'm outright concerned about, because Skaven kill Chaos Warriors really, really easily with globes. The rest of this build, I can kind of see what he's going for. Slaughter Brutes, I think they're terrible, but like, I get it here, right? Skaven hate unbreakable stuff. They just do. They hate terror. So get unbreakable terror. Makes sense. I still think it's too expensive, but it makes sense. Icket Claw is getting slowly poked down by the Hellforged Bellowers. Now for his build, we have Natty Boo with Sharpshooters, 2 Poisonwing Globes, Skaven Slaves, and Rat Ogres in a circle, and then we have 2 Doom Flayers with Chevrons and a bunch of Night Runners. The Night Runners are doing their best to peel the Chaos Furies of Khorne. They're generally pretty good at that, so the Chaos Furies are just going to dive on the Night Runners. But you can see that the Furies, as long as you're running away, they don't get a ton of damage out quickly, so it'll take a long time to kill these Night Runners relatively to how you think it would go. Globes getting routed off. The other one is doing just fine. You need at least one of these globes to stay alive to deal with the Chaos Warriors of Khorne. But Icket Claw just used unlimited power, and I saw it hurt him. So this plus the Hellforged Bellowers shooting him, he's getting very low very quickly, and I think that's super concerning for the Skaven. In this matchup, this is unfortunately why you generally need at least 1 Warp Lightning Cannon, but I'm also surprised the Jezzails are not counter-firing the Hellforged Bellowers right now. I don't think they have attack orders onto it, and they definitely should, because you've got to stop that thing from free firing. That's the big thing about the Hellforged Bellowers, is they are overpowered. I know a lot of my community and I disagree with them. I'm generally a down player on how strong they are. I acknowledge they're strong, I acknowledge they're overpowered, I acknowledge they need a nerf, but also artillery or ranged weapons teams like this counter it, and I see a lot of games where people either don't bring any ranged against Khorne and then they get kited, or this one where the Jezzails just aren't shooting at it. They're allowing the Hellforged Bellower to do whatever it wants for free, and they're suffering. So yes, it's overpowered. I also think there's some misplays going on. Globes getting onto the Chaos Warriors of Khorne just like they want to. If the Chaos Warriors get to melee with maybe 2/3 of their HP, they will grind through infinite amounts of Skaven. But if you can take them out, you'll be fine. What is not fine is the Furies coming in late and taking out the Natty Boo with Sharpshooters. That was good to have them come in from the Khorne player. The late part was that the Skaven weren't ready for them anymore. Natty Boo was get taken out for free, and now the Hellforged Bellower is going to keep free firing on Icket Claw and is going to take him out. Now in comes something. Oh, it's the Blood Speaker ability. Yeah, he's murderous exhortations everyone. So the Rat Ogre's thinking about routing. Slaughter Brute's going to pound into these guys, and Hellforged Bellower is just vibing. Cleansing Rune Overcast was out onto the Slaughter Brute before it get routed. Nick, it looks like he'll be getting to safety, so at least the Skaven won't take the Lord is dead leadership debuff. And the Furies are fading away at last. Now, Ikit will rally at that amount of HP, I believe. He's on his Doom Wheel, right? Yeah, he's on his Doom Wheel. He should rally at 300 HP. So if he just stays up on the other side of the lip, the Hellforged Bellowers can't shoot at him, and the Skaven have a chance of winning this game. Because the Blood Speaker is crazy low. I think he's been using his heal. Yeah, he used his heal on someone, so that hurts him. And with his low HP pool, that's actually pretty detrimental. Skaven Slave Spears all rallied up. They do need to spread out, otherwise the Hellforged Bellowers will take care of them. And little Doom Flayers. The Dwarf Thing Menace tries to chase down the Hellforged Bellowers and gets the damage out. The Blood Speaker refuses to rout, and that is a problem for the Skaven, because again, if he is alive, the Slaughter Brutes are unbreakable. And they're trying to fight their way out of the Rat Ogres. Now, unfortunately, the Slaughter Brutes are being Slaughter Brutes and not getting much damage out despite their high damage value, 600 armor piercing. They've been fighting Rat Ogres and they just don't... They just don't do damage. It's just sitting at Rat Ogres, not doing anything. They're so bad. Why don't they do any damage? Ikit Claw went off the map? No way. No way he went all the way off the map with 300 HP. Okay, whatever, Ikit, you piece of garbage. I guess he took too much damage too quickly, so it took too long for the leadership to decay. Where if he's already low and then he takes a little bit of damage, it's not as bad. He got burst out pretty quick. Natty Boo Sharpshooters are back. They're going to shoot at the Blood Speaker. This is pretty smart. I do like the Skaven's priority on killing off this guy, so the Slaughter Brutes all of a sudden lose their Unbreakable. That'll be huge. Don't they get something else too? Magic attacks and no Rampage. Okay, so they'll Rampage. Do they even have base Rampage? Are they going to Rampage when this guy routes, or is it just like, if you try and Rampage them, you can't? I don't understand, because I don't see Feral on here anywhere. I don't know. We'll find out when the Blood Speaker dies, if he dies. Jazale's still trying to hit him. We see little purple bullet marks appearing beneath his feet as he continues to run for it. There's the murderous exhortations to get these guys to rout. But without Ikit, the Skaven's leadership is just too low. So the unbreakable terror-causing units coming in clutch. OP double Slaughter Brute. Skaven's starting to rally whenever they get far enough away from this area. Hellforged Bellowers fires into Rat Ogres, but the Dwarfing Menace still harassing it, still poking the Hellforged Bellowers down, and Hellforged Bellowers is very squishy. Doesn't have a large HP pool. It gets a little bit of healing when it's in melee, but not a ton. As the Natty Boo of Sharpshooters, they are the new leaders now. They've got their little rat walkie-talkies out, and they're just calling the shots from their sniper's ridge, and they're just gonna take this guy out. Blood Speaker pops Unbreakable for everyone around him. Or wait, it's single target. Okay, just for him. He just turns Unbreakable, so he can't die. He can't rout. I mean, he can die. Yeah, he can definitely die. But he can't rout. Natty Boobos. Like I said, dude, these are the little commanders on the hill. Every time the Skaven Slaves and the Rat Ogres get up there, the Natty Boobos just get them together, and they're like, Squad 2, move in! Squad 4, move slightly! I need to kill the Blood Speaker! Shoot him! Shoot him in his stupid face! Pew pew! Now, they're not proving that accurate against this little Foot Lord running sideways, but they'll get him eventually. He's down to 69 HP, and all of a sudden, the Slaughter Brutes lose their Unbreakable. It must be when the Lord is... Oh, the Lord routing also counts, apparently. So these guys just immediately start rampaging. One of them is even going to rout. Blood Speaker's at 69 HP. That's pretty nice, but not nice enough as Khorne is starting to fall apart. The Slaughter Brutes stuck fighting it out, and the Hellforged Bellowers fire one final volley. Oh my goodness! Blood Speaker's still routing, and the Jazales aren't even going to bother with him. You know what? Screw that guy. Let's just shoot at this last Slaughter Brute. Its leadership is falling. Skaven Ascendant. Don't even need Ikit Claw. Who needs a Lord? You just need lads. You just need boys, proper gits. 8 leadership left, and the last thing Khorne has to rely on. It's getting worse and worse. It turns to fight against the Dwarfing Menace. Gets a pathetic amount of damage up. Nice 900 value, you nerd! Nice 900 value, you loser! You're a loser, Slaughter Brute! You suck! You've always sucked! At this point, Khorne's doomed. They have nothing left. They have this Chaos Fury, apparently. They have a couple Marauders, but army loss is gonna hit. And spoilers, double Slaughter Brute, not very potent. Bye, airstrikes. Meow meow, you know it. You know it. Why did I get pinged? Okay. The tournament host is pinging me. You are doing a bad job and no one likes you. Aw, JP. Aw, thanks, buddy. Rat Ogre's got amazing value just slapping slaughter brutes. Just beating the piss out of a couple slaughter brutes. The Doom Flayers did fine, especially the one that got to run down the Hellforge Bellers got a lot of value from just harassing the expensive unit. Ikit didn't get much done. For Gormbjorn, it was a Chad build. You tried to win the hearts of the people. Unfortunately, this did showcase why slaughter brutes are giga terrible. Oh, and then the Hellforge Bellers did their best. They really did. What's wrong with the slaughter brutes? They seem like to be okay on paper. I actually don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know. They have 600 weapon strength. Maybe they just don't have appropriate splash or something. So if they're fighting something with like, if they're fighting a bunch of infantry, this is pure speculation, but like maybe infantry, each model has 80 HP and it spends 600 damage to kill one model and it just doesn't spread appropriately. I don't know. I just don't. All I know is that thing sucks. Checking in on the tournament just so I know how many replays I got to cast. Looks like round 4 just started, so we got plenty of time. Let's find some people we haven't cast yet. Joy Boy and Johnny Cash. We cast Johnny Cash. I don't know if we cast Joy Boy yet. Was Joy Boy this one? No, Joy Boy had a different one I wanted to cast. This one. Anarian versus Joy Boy, but we get the Acid Burper. I'm down. Let's cast some Joy Boy! Hi, Elves, Greenskins. Speaking of big red monsters from the most recent DLC, welcome to Acid Burpa to the chat. Always nice to see Khorne lose. My hatred for Khorne knows no bounds. Currently most disliked factions. They just aren't Khorne-like to you. Mr. Eddie Lomax? Sorry to hear that. I like the concept of Khorne. Their current execution isn't great because it ends up being not all the time, but some of their builds end up very kitey, which is just the most anti-Khorne thing I've ever heard in my entire life, but it is what it is. High Elves, we have Lothern Seaguard and Archers, a lot of them, then Spearmen and Rangers, very infantry heavy. Imric up in the sky with his various buffs, big, scary duelist with good breath attacks, good terror, and a Life Mage with just regrowth to save him. On the other side, for the Greenskins, Savage Orc Borbiggins, the Warlords Boys, the Night Goblins that have armor sundering, and then Morgos, Mangy Marauders, Orc Boys, and Goblins, some with spears, some without. We have the Night Goblin War Boss with his Rampage and Net, and then on the high ground we have the 8 Peak Loons, Broken Tusk Mob, and another Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggin. The Asaburpa jumps in. I know Incars, one of my beloved moderators, really likes this monster, and I really do not. So I am curious to see it in action. I don't see a lot of it, so a lot of my negative opinion about it was from unit testing and from concept. I didn't understand its concept or what it does, but he uses it a lot and he says it's good, which I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Now this is exactly, to be fair, I don't think like, haha, it's getting overextended and shot. I was right, Incars is wrong. This is why I rate it so lowly though. It is very weak to archers. It rampages and it can rampage itself into a bad situation, and it's so tall and fat. It is very easy for archers to hit. So this is the worst case scenario for it, which is why I rate it so lowly. I have yet to see a lot of Incars' best case scenarios, but I will give him that was just a misplay where it got overextended, rampaged, and died. That's not the Acid Burpa's fault. That is a bit of a whoopsie from the Greenskin player. But it is dead as hell. Meanwhile, the Broken Tusk Mob get Lord of Dragons and landed on. Nice 0 melee attack, a nice 11 melee defense, as Imric is just going to land and start hitting you with Wild Abandon. Spearmen and Archers trying to peel off these Savage Orc Boar Boys. I like that a lot. Focusing on the Savage Orc Boar Boys with your Archers because they only have 35 armor, and leaving the armored one for Imric to kill in melee with its 100 armor. Just a bit easier there. Regrowth coming in from Imric. He is now surrounded, though this is an acceptable situation for the High Elves. They're using him as bait to hold these Savage Orc Boar Boys in place. Meanwhile, other archers pin-cushioning the Giant River Troll Hag, shooting the Acid Burpa as well. A lot of good damage out. And they're largely ignoring the Greenskin infantry and just letting Rangers deal with it. They're not dedicating their archers to killing off those guys just yet. Other Orc Boar Boys coming down from the high grounds, but already the battle is kind of getting decided without them. We'll see if these guys can make a massive difference, though. I don't rate Boar Boys very highly for killing infantry, especially not Lothern Seaguard, but I mean, even these guys, they're going to get a downhill charge onto regular archers, and you'll find the damage underwhelming. I'm not trying to gaslight you into saying Boar Boy Biggins are bad units. They're not. They're very good units. They're just not good at killing infantry. So they'll get rid of those high elf archers with a downhill charge, but takes them a while and they are going to back off. Meanwhile, Imric is sniping out the Night Goblin War Boss. Sepulchre Boar Boy Biggins rally from their terror route. That'll turn into a natural route any second here as Imric comes plowing through the back. They're about to lose their Night Goblin War Boss, and it's probably going to be GG. The Acid Burpa continues to fight in these spears, and without getting pin-cushioned by a million archers, it is doing significantly better on its lower HP point. That's because everybody kind of discounted it as already being dead and just letting it do what it wants to do. So it's got an 800 value, which is respectable. I think it's about to die because we drew attention to it, so now the High Elf archers are like, wait, the announcer caster man said that thing is still alive. They shoot it once, they rout it off, it has 500 HP left. Imric does not bother to kill the Night Goblin War Boss. He's just going to be content with shattering him. Doesn't want that extra leadership debuff. I think he just didn't want to dedicate someone as expensive and important as Imric to chasing off a tiny little Night Goblin War Boss. I kind of get it. I personally would have gone for the kill and get the extra leadership debuff, but I don't think it was a bad decision. I think it's just a different decision than I would have made. I get it. He's expensive. He's a lot of your resources, so why bother distracting him? And he lands back in, terror outs a bunch of stuff, enough to cause army losses. There are some unbreakable goblins. I'm going to hit ×3 speed because there's 0 chance they do anything. That's GG. Does the Acid Burp Explode still do less damage than the Mangler Squigs? Yes. Its explosion's still very terrible. You're shifting the goalpost, but you're 100% real. What? What? I'm not shifting no goalposts. What? Fire Mage hero for high elves on the Fire Dragon any good? I think independently, yes. I think the problem is that it's a hero, and your Lord slot, since you're playing high elves, is always going to be very expensive. So it's hard to justify the Fire Mage alongside Imric, because then your army gets very narrow very quickly. I don't think it's an individually bad unit. I think it's just risky because double dragon builds are a little in the coin flip category where it's if your opponent is ready to kill double dragons, you just flat out lose. And if they're not, you might win. But I don't see a lot of really good high elf players taking double dragon. Not like that anyway. I think they're trying double star dragon, but that's been mixed success at best. So I would ask them, like, if you find Rider of Rohan in chat, find Black Knight in chat ever. Trying to think who else plays a lot of high elves. The Phoenix King. You could ask them. I'm not the best high elf player, so my analysis comes from just being a caster and casting a lot of high elf games, and that would be I don't see it. But I get what you're talking about on paper, and I'm guessing there's a reason those players don't take it. The goalpost comment was for someone else. I'm sorry, Hummus. I'll never forgive. I'll never forget. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I like the concept. I just trust those high elf players enough to know that they've probably considered it, and there's probably a reason they don't want to do it. All right. Anybody else we haven't cast? We have Johnny Cash, but he wanted us to cast this one, not this one. I mean, he didn't say don't cast this one, but he specifically asked me to cast this. But I've already seen both those players. Let's see if there's anybody I haven't seen yet. We've seen Kukinko, we've seen I don't know if I've seen Curio yet. I don't know if I've seen Yep. Oh, that's Domination. He put it in the wrong chat. Okay, not my problem. There's Kukinko and Tlon. We've seen both those players. I'm Not That Clever. We've seen that. And Lucky Spotify we have seen. Gornbjorn and Joyboy. We just saw Joyboy. We know we've seen Gornbjorn. And there's some Curio. There's some Pasha. So which Curio game do we want? Grand Cathay or Dark Elves? I mean, Dark Elf has double Canid Assassin, so sure, why not? Let's get some Curio! Wait, what about this? Tyrion plus Fire Dragon Mage. I mean, that could be solid. Tyrion has good fire damage. I'd love to catch. I'm Not That Clever. I got you, dude. I got you. We'll do one of your games next. I was just looking for anyone. I haven't cast any of their games, and I know I've cast at least one of yours, but we got to spread the love. I don't think we've cast Curio yet. He deserves it. He deserves it. But I'm Not That Clever. I will make you a personal promise to find one of your games next. That is my human boy, yes, promise to you. I'm Not That Clever. And if I break that promise, there are no repercussions for me whatsoever, so you know I take it seriously. All right, Beastmen full deploy in the forest. 3 Ungor Raiders, 5 Ungor Spearman Herds, some dogs, some Centaurs. We have 4 Minotaurs. Most of them have great weapons. 1 is the Butchers of Kalkengard. And then we have Malagor Dark Omen currently landed to be so sneaky with his lads, and he has just Flock of Doom. On the other side for the Dark Elves, we have the Crows of Cain, Dark Riders, 4 Coldwell Knights, 2 Dark Rider Peter Crossbows, double Cainate Assassin. Neither of them have any items. They are just butt-naked Cainate Assassins. And speaking of butt-naked assassins, we have Morathi in the sky with Soul Stealer, Word of Pain, and our Bound Wand of Grydon. The recommended Lizard game is indeed a good one. Okay. Okay, cool. Sorry, I just got pinged, and I have to make sure it's not the tournament host telling me to do things. Okay, it's not the tournament host telling me to do things. Chaos Warhounds with poison catch the Cainate Assassin. They're poisoning him. They're chomping him. Yum. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. And then, oh my god! The Ungor Raiders and the Dark Rider Pure Crossbows all fire at the same time and just pepper the dogs with a bunch of arrows. Some friendly fire, some not, but there's no way those Ungor Raiders were hitting the Cainate Assassin and that nonsense. Look at all these arrows coming in. As the Beastmen charge out, Centaurs are going to catch Dark Riders, but Coldwell Knights are going to countercharge. Coldwell Knights need to avoid the forest like the plague. They do not have woodsmen. The Beastmen do. So the Beastmen don't take debuffs from fighting in the woods. These guys will. You're about to see a terrain debuff show up on a lot of their stats, I think. Are they seriously not taking the terrain debuff because these guys are outside of it just barely? That's wild. That is wild. They're not getting terrain debuffs, but the Dark Elves really need that for those Coldwell Knights to trade back. Okay, Centaurs and dogs teaming up on them, getting a charge out of the forest is all very good for the Beastmen. So good engagements here from Curio so far. His Minotaurs are where most of his money is, and they are just now getting involved in the fight, though this assassin is already taking a lot of damage from dueling with all these little guys. But he is holding back multiple Spearman Herds from being able to protect the Minotaurs. So if the Minotaurs get bogged down in Dread Spears and Coldwell Knights, they could have a bad time. Could is doing a lot of work there, because like the Coldwell Knights on their own is what the Minotaurs want to fight. So I'm more thinking of Coldwell Knights fighting on top of Dread Spears being dangerous. But this is just going to be a bit of a wash. If the Dark Elves get their Murderous Prowess popped in time, they'll do well. If they don't, we're going to see these guys rout off very quickly as the Minotaurs are just chewing through Coldwell Knights over here. Oh, so dangerous. Maybe an overinvestment from the Dark Elves on this top side. Like, they brought another Coldwell Knight, they brought Morathi and Dread Spears all up here to rout off a Centaur, but like, most of the Beastmen's money is down here. It's all 4 of these Minotaurs. So chasing off one 750 gold Centaur with like 2.5 thousand gold value of your own troops is not going to work out. And we see the Beastmen just making the most of this. Like, they are fully leveraging their win condition and slapping through these guys, getting rid of all these Dark Elves on the low ground while Morathi and these guys get rid of the Centaurs. Because you do have to think about like win condition, right? How do the Beastmen win this game? Is it getting one Centaur around the flank, or is it 4 Minotaurs slapping through things, grinding it out, and taking the point eventually? It's the second one. So the Dark Elves putting most of their resources towards routing off that one Centaur, that's not changing the Beastmen's game plan. That's not disrupting what they want to do with the game. They're like, okay, fine, do it. I don't care. Anyway. Just giving you some thought onto what I consider good and bad. Because you might be like, he killed a Centaur for free. Isn't that good? No, because those resources could have been elsewhere. So the low ground Dark Elves have been shattered off. We've lost 2 Coldwell Knights down here. We've lost some Dread Spears, and now a Cainate Assassin is surrounded. So it's just a lot of things getting killed off for the Dark Elves. And the Centaurs are so fast and so flighty that it's taking Morathi and these other Coldwell Knights so long to get back to the fight that the Beastmen have just been slapping on the low ground. Now, you know, the Crows of Cain are doing some work. Dread Spears, Bleak Swords are doing their best. Morathi's going to get a nice Soul Stealer. It's not all bad for the Dark Elves. It's just mostly a tough time. They're not enjoying how this is going. As dogs and the Butchers of Kalkengard continue to shatter off things in the distance, Centaurs are even starting to come back. Malagor has just been lurking, staying safe. Dives down to the Crows of Cain, rear charge onto them, gets rid of them, saves some archers. For the Dark Elves, we have 1 full health Coldwell Knight that has since lost some HP. Yeah, that one's fighting in the woods. You can see the terrain is giving it -6 melee attack. That's what we were more worried about. Anyway, Coldwell Knight took a little bit of damage fighting dogs and Centaurs, but still a very healthy Coldwell Knight. Still 2 healthy infantry pieces in the Dread Spears and Bleak Swords, but they are about to lose their next Cainate Assassin again. And you do have Morathi at full HP. Nice Flock of Doom in from Malagor. Beastmen still have some archers. Out of their 4 Minotaurs, 2 are half health, 1 is almost dead, and then you have a full health Butchers of Kalkengard, healed up, standing on the point, trying to capture it with some dogs. Look at this poor Canaan assassin. He fires a crossbow into a Minotaur's knee. That's how outclassed this man is right now. He's like, knee shot! And then he gets knocked over by giant axes. Eek, ow. Beastmen capture the point. Wood Elves retreat into the trees, and those are not two sentences I thought I would say in a row. You think the Beastmen would be the ones to flee into the trees while the Dark Elves hold the point. Wild times we live in as another overcasted flock of doom hits these full health bleak swords and the already dying Coldwood Knights. Morathi tries to jump in to rout the Minotaurs, but not going to go great for her. Soul Stealer counter. There it is. I was like, there's no way you're casting another Flock of Doom. I just saw it happen. Everything is routing. Army losses is probably going to get triggered in a second. Morathi slowly healing up from Soul Stealer is not enough to change the wins that are going on here. Canaan Assassin is routed. Morathi's going to get some good hits on Malagor, but I think as soon as the Crows of Cain route, that's probably going to be GG. And just wrap it up on the Dark Elves here. Crows of Cain are in. Watch for that white flag, because then it'll turn into a skull very quickly as the rest of the Dark Elves follow. Just watch. Just watch. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. As soon as they rout, it's over. Boom, they're gone. All right, army losses. GG. I'm right all the time. I'm always correct about army losses. Wow. Human Boy's so smart and brilliant and intelligent. Ah, shit, it didn't happen. Somehow Morathi alone is enough to keep the balance of power up here. Okay, I mean, okay. I kind of think the Butchers of Khaldgard are like right there. Another overcasted something. Looks like an overcasted Flock of Doom. Hurts Malagor so much he might actually get routed by Morathi, but still. I think everything the Beastmen have could shatter off and just the Butchers of Khaldgard stay, and the Beastmen would still win this. I'm gonna check chat while Morathi chases Malagor off. Cracking open a cold one with the boys. A knee shot could be could get you put on guard duty for the rest of your career. Yeah, dude, yeah. I used to be a Minotaur like you. I took an arrow to the knee. Fast forward, just as Morathi's chasing off Malagor, the Dark Elves have nothing else left. So, there you go. GG. GG. Tournament host is doing tournament host things. Ah, round 4 is done, so we have semifinals coming up. Okay. I gotta go through these values pretty fast because we gotta go do semifinal things in a second. Minotaur's got good value. Rapasha, Morathi did fine. Coldwood Knights, fine-ish. Crows of Cain did okay. But we gotta hurry up. We gotta go fast. Because we've now cast everybody at least once, but then we promised I'm Not That Clever that we would cast one of his games. We gotta go. We gotta go! Johnny Cash. I'm casting one more replay, then ready for semis. Cool. I have alerted the tournament host and everybody else involved that I am casting this replay. We made a promise. We made a promise. I don't break no promises for nobody. For the Lizardmen of Johnny Cash, frontline of skin cohorts, double Quaddle, a Salon Mage Priest of Light again, with Shem's Burning Gaze and Banishment. We have some Feral Cold Ones, Umbral Tide, and Ripperdactyls. It looks like he's taking a very similar build to what he saw him take versus Airstrikes, Grand Cathay, but now versus the Vampire Coast. I guess it's just Undead Cathay. You're expecting a lot of guns. You're expecting a box-type formation. But he did not get a box. We got 2 Mourngulls off in the very far flanks. Shade Wraith Gunners, after getting hit with a Shem's Burning Gaze, probably. Very damaged. 1 Carronade, 2 Hand Cannons, 3 Deck Gunners, one of which is the Shade Wraith Gunner. And then a front line of Deckhands Mobs, backed up by Halberds, backed up by the Lampert's Vengeance Dogs. Celostra in the center. She is becoming increasingly the Vampire Coast Lord of choice with her double summons and the Tide Call. Cannons firing away. This time the Quaddles are not trying to cloak the Slann, so that does leave him open to Carronade fire. I don't know where the Shade Wraith Gunners are going. I think they're trying to shoot the Slann, but they're getting a little optimistic. Do need to back off. Retreat, my friends. You are about to get fireballed. As they get a little volley off onto the Slann, they also get hit with a bunch of fireballs right in the face. Quaddle dives down. Hand cannons, particularly good at anti-air fire, but the Quaddle is also particularly good at not getting shot by anti-air fire by being a thin little snag. Feral Cold Ones fighting on the high grounds, losing to Morgul Haunters, beating Scurvy Dogs, because Scurvy Dogs are the worst dog unit in the entire game. I will die on this hill. I've played a lot of Vampire Coast, and Scurvy Dogs feel awful. They feel terrible. You know what else I play? A lot of Skaven. Wolf Rats feel amazing. Scurvy Dogs feel terrible. I will fight anybody on this. Anyway, moving on. Ripperdactyl Riders diving down on the deck gunners and the hand cannon mobs. Vampire Coast having difficulties keeping their backline online. A lot of their infantry are just getting ignored. Some of them are getting to fight skinks, but you can see these other ones, these halberds and these deckhand mobs are just walking slowly after the flyers that are getting away from them. The two regular deck gunners are getting shut down right now. The Shade Wraith gunners have died to the Umbral Tide Salamander hunting packs. We still have a Carronade firing away. Hopefully, oh no, something knocked it off its mount. We have to see if the Carronades realize they need to get back on their mounts. They're waddling forward. They must have gotten attack orders without realizing they're not on their cannons anymore, so now they're trying to walk into melee. Anyway, Celostra's thrown out both of her summons. We saw the damn Knights Errant chasing down Ripperdactyl Riders. We see these Rotting Prometheans fighting other Ripperdactyls, but I think the Lizardmen are in a really good spot right now. Lizardmen probably feeling quite solid about what's going on. Lamper's Revenge going to charge out at the Umbral Tide. Umbral Tide, not good armor piercing on their shots, but they do have anti-large and they do have fire damage, both of which is good against the Lamper's Revenge, so it's kind of a wash that they don't have armor piercing. And the Slann is just taking the fight to him. He goes, oh, no, no, no. I didn't mean to click on you. I meant to click past you. No. He's running away now as these little shotgun guys are going to fire at him as they go. So the Slann is going to take consistent damage. He needs help. The Umbral Tide is continuing to kite away. Somebody save the Slann as he gets shot at point blank range by those shotguns, but in comes the Umbral Tide fire. Down to half HP. Are the Lamper's Revenge. Still the Slann is taking damage. There's no healing for him. There's no Rev Crystal. He is not a life Slann. The health he has is what he has, and it is depleting quickly. Another shot in from the Umbral Tide trying to do what they can. And the Quaddle? No. The Slann used the Bound Banishment to dissuade those Scurvy Dogs from doing anything about it, but Lamper's Revenge kill off the Slann in a disaster for the Lizardmen. Rotting Promethean summon on top of the Umbral Tide, who are going to start falling back now. And the Quaddle tearing through Morngul's and Halberds on the side, Ripperdactyl Riders flying around. And we've seen this movie before. It was just Grand Cathay the last time, as we have gotten down to just some Ripperdactyls and the Quaddle with the Slann being dead. Now this Carronade crew, the Chad Carronade crew, helped try and capture the point. Now they're still waddling through the battlefield. They don't need their cannons, which I remind you are way over here. They don't need their cannons. They don't need anything. As they just wander through the battle. Celostra's out of summons. So once that one fades away, the balance power shifted back towards the middle for the Lizardmen just a teeny tiny bit, and Celostra will become a Tide Call bot, which is getting less and less useful as we're getting down to just Flyers and the Quaddle. Tide Call is not going to be a useful spell. So Celostra's high HP pool is not going to be very helpful in the late game. A lot of zombies are fading away. The Lamper's Revenge are chilling on the capture point, trying to heal up a little bit. And other Morngulls are walking around with polearm support. I like this a lot. I like keeping your mass with your polearms. That is a good way of using them. Well, elsewhere, another Morngul and polearm team is doing pretty well. These polearms, only 200 value so far. But this is the point where the Vampire Coast could just cluster up on the capture point and do what they can there. Umbral Tide kiting away from these dogs. Should be able to finish off the Scurvy Dogs in melee, just considering how low they are. Yeah, minus 55 leadership is normally disintegrating points. There they go. Goodbye. He likes to do all live. He smells bad. Good luck. I do smell bad. Okay. Sorry. Somebody had a question for me about the tournament. I had to go. I had to answer the tournament question. Another bound spell from the Quaddles, trying to damage these deckhand mobs. Where is Celostra? No, Celostra should not be out here all alone. I don't like that. I'm very scared about that. So Celostra has no one around as we get another chain lightning straight through these deckhand mobs. And those are polearms, so actually the bound spell is going to rip them apart. Lots of damage out. But anyway, what I was saying is I'm very concerned Celostra is nowhere near the Lamper's Revenge, nowhere near these Morngulls. That is very scary that she could get sniped out. Because the Quaddles do magic damage, and she's a tiny HP pool. Also, has anybody noticed that this Carronade crew is still out here doing the work of the gods? Tide Call tries to slow down the Umbral Tide. No, not the cannon crew! Morngul, save them! No, the Morngul's are getting attacked by Ripperdactyls and the Quaddle goes straight through the heroic cannon crew! How dare you, sir! That Carronade has gotten 500 value! You can't just treat them like this! As Celestia walks forward, but now she's got 2 giant magic damage dealing Thunderbirds to deal with, and the Morngul's get ripped apart. Earlier I said the Morngul's needed to stick together with Halberds, and they did not, and they are paying the price as the Lamprey's Revenge have gone way too far, chasing other things. The Vampire Coast was in a good position, but unfortunately a couple positioning misplays cost them everything as Celostra's now getting soloed up by a Quaddle. The Carronade crew, our beloved Carronade crew, gets killed off by the Quaddle, and those Morgul's get killed for free. The zombie deckhand mobs are just wandering slowly out here to try and help out, and Lamprey's Revenge, the real key players to this late game, were nowhere to be found. So unfortunately, the Vampire Coast just making some positioning mistakes, separating out all their forces, making it easy for those fast flyers to all fly into one engagement, win the one engagement, and then rotate to a different one and win that one engagement where they didn't have to fight all that you had left at the same time. Celestia now getting killed by the double Quaddle. You can see it. Look at the Halberds, though. The Halberds are doing great work now that you actually have to engage them. Imagine if the Morngul's had been on top of them so you couldn't get the Morngul's for free. As the Halberds take out all 3 of the Ripperdactyl Riders, send them running. And the Vampire Coast... Vampire Coast does control the point. Lamprey's Revenge need to rally to that point. Celestia dying is pretty bad, and the Umbral Tide's still able to get a couple shots off. They only have 3 volleys left, but Army Losses takes out the last of the Vampire Coast. That is GG. We do have semifinals to go get to, so we have to hurry along, but just scrolling through the values, Ripperdactyls did well, shut down a lot of stuff, Quaddles did well, and the Umbral Tide successfully peeled around a lot and got a lot of damage value out. For the Vampire Coast, I think the first 2/3 of the game were fantastic, and some late game misplays cost them the game, but I will say optimistically, at least you were in a position to throw the game, because there are a lot of games where, you know, you just get stomped so hard you never had a chance or something. This was not one of those games. I'm not that clever. Definitely could have won with some different decision making in the late game. Shit happens, but a very nice game. A very, what seems like a very nice player. Seems like a good guy. I don't want to say a very nice guy because I don't know him, and for all I know, he's an asshole. But he seems nice in our chat. He's right there. Seems okay. Seems like a good lad. He kills puppies. Well, okay, well, I didn't know that. So now you're telling me he kills puppies, and now I feel stupid. So thanks for that. Gonna black out the screen as I join this lobby because the players have been waiting for me, so they might have builds up, and I don't want to accidentally see them. 1 second. There's nothing wrong with your television. Boom. We're back. So this is the semifinals. There are 4 players who scored high enough to get past the bracket stage. It looks like 2 of them are Johnny Cash and 1001 Airstrikes back on Lizardmen and Grand Cathay. We saw this matchup once before. What adjustments will either player make to win this semifinal? Will 1001 Airstrikes win again? Or will Johnny Cash turn this ship around? We are in River Amixon, a medium-sized map with a lot of forests. So maybe Cathay will be blinded, unable to fire. I just work here. Cathay will be blinded, unable to fire. I was checking on the mic. I know sometimes my mic sounds weird, so I just wanted to check in on it. It's occasionally peaking a little bit. Chat, how often is it peaking? I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. There, just turn the. I'm just turning the cap down a little bit so it maybe doesn't peak as much. Nobody kills puppies; they kick puppies. Oh, Dagroth, you got me there. Peaceful Romancer. Carl Franz would not get owned by flying poultry. Typical beta ghost behavior. Sigmar wins. Get henpecked. Get henpecked. Get henpecked. Peaceful Romantic might like Carl Franz. Just maybe, possibly. I want to see how the builds are going so I can kind of figure out how much wait time we have. So I'm going to black out the screen again. Sorry about that. I just want to check on things. Lizardmen have about 500 gold left to spend. Cathay looks like they have a ready army. So I'll get back to the map screen and hit this. You didn't see anything. Cool. Cool. Why don't you just put up a blocker? You should just grab a blocker real quick. I don't want to. I could, but I didn't think we'd be in lobby for this long. Shiz. Whoop. Whoop. Johnny Cash is flipping his flags around. That means he's ready to go. They're both blue. Absolutely not. I refuse to cast a game where you're both the same color of flag. It's not happening. It's not happening. I will leave. I will depart this lobby. Yumbo, you think infantry is too weak right now? Or not? How would you help them out? I do think infantry is too weak. The mere thought of his thighs, thick as the pillars of Sigmar's own temple. Clenching against the saddle of death cause enough to moisten my palms. Peaceful Rancer? Same. Base take. As for Darko, so I have some spitball ideas. Either... it depends on your goal for infantry. If you want infantry to be the true chaff of Warhammer, then you just need to decrease all their costs. That's the boring one. And it seems like the last couple patches have tried to make everything so good at killing infantry that leads me to think that's what they're trying to do, where infantry are just kind of meant to never deal damage. They're meant to like take points in domination or fill out your rosters in campaign. So if that is true, then just decrease other costs. I don't think that's true, but just saying. How I would ideally balance infantry is have collision attacks. Shut up. I would have collision attacks. Shut up. I know the stats nerds are going to be like, you're wrong, and here's why. Just let me theory craft. Collision attacks should probably not have armor piercing. So then you have your cheap light infantry getting bowled over by a bunch of monsters. But then if you have heavy infantry like Chaos Warriors with halberds, they're halberds. They're supposed to counter super large things. But currently with how collision attacks work, they can just get cycle charged by monsters. So your halberd anti-large monster killing units are just getting collision attack bodied by monsters all day anyway. And you might be like, well, what if they can brace? If they brace, they don't take any damage. That's not true. That's not true for a lot of reasons that I don't know because I'm not a coder. But one, if one of your halberds is in melee with any chaff infantry or anything, they're unbraced and then they can just get side charged. And then even if they're perfectly in the middle of nowhere, stopped dead, halberds braced, all that stuff, there's still a lot of monsters that collision attacks do damage with anyway, and I can't explain it. Like the Stonehorn. The Stonehorn especially, I've noticed, like if it charges braced halberds, there are times where it'll like hit them, and the first hit will do no damage, and you're like, charge defense is working! And then its animation keeps going, and then the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth hit of the same charge deals damage and still wrecks a halberd. So I don't know what that's about, right? So I think the easy, fast solution is armor. Collision attacks don't deal armor piercing damage, so then armored infantry doesn't get bodied by large stuff as much, right? That would be a quick fix. But then you're like, what about all of our light infantry? Well, if your light infantry is chaff, I think they just need cost decreases. Basic Marauders of Norska probably should be 350 gold. Basic Clan Rats should probably be 250. Everything that's terrible needs to be cheaper because it's terrible. It's terrible right now, and that's fine. Like, it's fine for things to be bad. Clan Rats with spears and shields, those are fine priced. I'm talking about Clan Rats. The 300 gold Clan Rat should be 250. Before you get mad at me, I think the Clan Rats with spears and shields, 375 is a perfect price point for them. That unit is currently amazing for its price points. That's fine. I wouldn't buff those, but they're anti-large and they have spears and they pay 50 more gold for it. So that's kind of messed up. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so we've solved heavy infantry. Collision attacks don't affect armor, right? So armored infantry are resistant to collision attacks. Chaff infantry we made cheaper because they die instantaneously, so at least make them terrible. So that's fine if they die instantaneously. It's fine. Then you have the elite light infantry. Your sword masters of Hoeth, your skull reapers or whatever those guys are, your bloodletters of Khorne, your demonettes of Slanesh. Those guys are supposed to deal damage but don't have armor, so collision attacks are still going to body those fools. I think you just got to ramp their damage. I honestly think that's it. I think those guys should die to cavalry charging them. If you're a butt-naked dude holding 2 axes, sprinting at a horse, and that horse runs you over, I'm not shocked that happened to you. You probably deserved it. But when those units get onto what they get onto, they need to body it. And they just currently don't. They do fine. They do fine. But I want to see like some serious damage buffs for light infantry, like berserkers. Again, we're talking about elite light infantry. Things that are meant to deal damage, like berserkers, plague monks, censer bearers, demonettes, exalted demonettes, bloodletters, exalted bloodletters. And I think those guys are fine to be squishy, but the payoff needs to like really be there. Like when they hit stuff, they murder it. But then if they get in a bad situation, they die instantaneously. I think that's fine. That's good risk reward. But the reward isn't there right now. It's all risk, right? If you take Swordmasters and they take a Jabberslythe, cool, your Swordmasters died. And if they didn't take a Jabberslythe, your Swordmasters will slowly kill Ungor Spearmen. Crap, okay. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're taking that bet, Swordmasters colliding with Ungor Spearmen, those Ungor Spearmen's health bar should be deplenishing so fast that you start sweating. You should be like, oh my god, oh, they're all dying. There's so much violence, so much blood and carnage, and currently it's like, oh, that's kind of fine. So that's how I balance the 3 types of infantry. Now that was a complicated, long explanation that got us through an entire build phase. Do I think CA is going to do that because it took me so long to explain that to you? No. So, personally, I'm guessing either collision attacks are going to take a nerf or all infantry are going to get cost decreases. But here's my light at the end of the tunnel for you. It is well known that infantry suck right now. CA knows about it. They'll do something. Whether what they do will be enough, we'll find out. You know, that's kind of the age-old question, isn't it? Sometimes CA kills it. Sometimes CA really botches what they try to do. It happens. But they know about it. They know infantry's terrible. Feels really bad to lose units to single volleys. Yeah. That's another thing we talked about with big monsters. I was saying ranged units need buffs so that they can actually take down big monsters, but then they still die in melee to cavalry or infantry. Increasing infantry's HP can be okay. You just need to be careful, and why I was proposing what I was proposing is we were in an infantry meta before where you could just spam infantry and just try and stat stick your opponent out of a fight, and it was kind of lame to just watch a bunch of infantry walk down builds and win. So you don't want them to be too brain dead, like, which I worry increasing their HP pools could become a problem of just like, I pick 8 Chaos Warriors and walk at you, and eventually you will die. You know, you want counterplay there. So, it could work. I would just be cautious. Increasing map size would also be nice. That could be, but that would nerf infantry actually quite a lot, JW. Because the larger the map size, the more speed is a value, and infantry don't usually have speed. Yeah. Collision attack gets reflected on the monster in the monster's brace? No, absolutely not. Otherwise, you'd see a lot of damage coming in onto jabbers. Oh, you're saying what if? Hat for cat, that could be interesting, yeah. Yeah, that could be interesting. Sorry, I read your last comment first, so then I thought you were saying that's what happened instead of what should happen. What about letting armies take more units? As a Skaven main, I wouldn't be against having army sizes of 25 or 30 units, but I don't know. I have put no thought into that, so I don't really have a strong opinion, because it'd be like off the cuff, yeah, 30 sounds fine, but people could probably tell me a lot of ways that that's a bad idea, so I haven't thought about it at all. All right, we're in a game. Armies are mostly set up, so I can start talking about what they have. For Johnny Cash, we have some adjustments to his build. We have a Salon Mage Priest of Fire this time with Burning Head, Banishment, and Blood Statue of Despite, so a lot of infantry clearing spells here. Red Crest King frontline for that nice armor piercing. 2 Saurus Warriors for a bit more stability and bump and grind. 3 Croxagors, and another Cold Wind Spearrider and a Ripperdactyl. The other side for Grand Cathay. Front line of Jade Warrior Halberds and Peasant Long Spears mixed in. Back line the same, so it is just a ring of mixed spears and halberds, one next to the other, all the way around. One Jade Warrior crossbow, two Celestial Dragon crossbows, one of which is Grace of Kiyin. Then we have two Iron Hill Gunners, a Jet Lion, the Astromancer with Curse of Midnight Wind and Harmonic Convergence, interestingly enough. A Lord Magistrate, just on foot, naked as the day he was born. He has Tactician, reload skill, and melee defense for anyone nearby. The Zhengdu War Drum in the center of the formation as well. It's gonna just be on disdain of the Dragon Emperor, so it's gonna give everybody more reload skill, melee attack, and immune to psychology. And no cannons on this smaller map. If you wonder why Cathay always makes circles or box builds, tell CA to stop giving them AoE buffs. Because the Zhengdu War Drum buffs you if you're near it, and the Lord Magistrate buffs you if you're near it, and Harmony buffs you if you're near other things. So, yeah, of course their formations are going to be boxes. That's that is a one-to-one consequence of all the buffs you have given this faction. Sir, should I spread out? Why would you do that? I don't know. To cover more distance on the battlefield. Do not spread out ever. All of our buffs are if you're right next to each other. What's the lion for? I don't know. I think he wants it for the bound missile mirror. In case of the Umbral Tide, which Johnny Cash has brought in every single matchup, but there is not a single ranged unit here, so the missile mirror is going to be wasted. So I think that one he was trying to predict the Salamander hunting pack might be around, and it just didn't show up, so a little unfortunate there. Other than that, it's a pretty bad duelist. Ooh, it does have silenced. I guess that's one thing, is you could throw it after the Slann and just stop the Slann from being able to cast any spells, but obviously you would do that in the mid game, because if he does it right now, it'll just get isolated by Croc scores and killed. Grand Cathay trying to move their formation onto the point so they can capture it. That is the bane of defensive builds in Conquest, is if you don't move to the point, then the enemy can just take the point and shoot you. Boxes are cool though. Some people think so, some people don't. Boxes can be boring at times, it depends. I don't think all boxes are bad. I think if the meta is just everyone boxing, then it gets pretty old. Though increased army size seems fine, with the only exception being Conquest, where it could mask the point. Nice burning head down the side. But this is where the mixing in Jade Warrior Halberds with Peasant Long Spears is nice, because then the Burning Head has to, no matter what angle it takes, it's going to end up hitting a heavily armored unit it doesn't do nearly as much damage to. And now the Lizardmen getting pin cushioned a bit by Grand Cathay. Grace of Kiyin gets some good shots out on Cold Spear Riders, take half their HP off. And Riperdactyl's diving in elsewhere. Disdain of the Dragon Emperor helping these Jade Warrior Halberds. And the Grace of Kiyin under attack. In comes a Slann's Bound spell onto these guys. How many of them are actually going to be in the banishment? It looks like a good amount. Decent little damage, not as much as you'd like, but I kind of wonder if you're going to go with infantry clearing to the max, you might want Mazda Mundi for the Ruination of Cities, plus he still has banishment. Golden Spear Riders, since there are no cavalry for them to do combat with, they just get thrown into the front line as extra armor piercing and extra damage. Crocsagores also go over the top into the front line, really trying to break through these Peasant Long Spears, but they are immune to psychology because of the Zhengdu War Drum. Now the Grace of Kiyin and other archers are all trying to kill the Slann. This is risky from Grand Cathay. Guaranteed value on the front line is a little safer. Trying to snipe out the Slann, if you don't actually snipe him out, then your front line is going to buckle and you will have done nothing to stop it. But it looks like they're now turning on to just shooting the front line. But the Crocsagores are already through, starting to disrupt those Iron Hill Gunners, stop them from firing. Riperdactyl Riders doing the same thing. They're really trying to stall out these ranged units and allow the Lizardmen front line to just continue to churn. But Grand Cathay is holding. Again, ITP, hell of a drug on all of your frontline units, plus melee attack, plus melee defense. 50 melee defense in these Jade Warrior Halberds is dominating. Grand Cathay is up 6,000 to 2,000 damage value, and the Lizardmen just have to surrender. There's the power of overlapping buffs. Very quick game, not a lot of value going to be seen for the Lizardmen and for Grand Cathay. Peasant long spears already paying for themselves. 2 didn't, but they didn't get to really play. The ones that actually got to play, tons of value from being a very effective spear unit, but also just all those overlapping buffs. Their frontline just goes nowhere, and a lot of damage gets dealt. Celestial Dragon crossbows did fine. Jet Lion literally didn't do anything. And the Zhengdu War Drum did a lot, but just passively. GG's Johnny Cash, good effort, but we will see Grand Cathay and 1001 airstrikes in the finals. Now we're on to Kukinko versus someone. I don't know who the other semifinalist is. I just knew Kukinko has been messaging me. So we're gonna spectate this. Your screen will go black again in 1 second because I have to make sure you don't see the builds. These two should be ready. It is Random Cubans. You saw his Kolek Suneater earlier versus the Lizardmen. Kolek Suneater, very pog. I don't know if he's going to take him versus Nurgle, but Warriors Cast versus Nurgle. I will be honest, I think 1001 Airstrikes is going to win this, just on faction alone. Lizardmen probably had the best chance of breaking the Grand Cathay box. I don't know what the Warriors of Chaos or Nurgle can do, period, against the Grand Cathay box. I'm ready to be surprised. You know, but just looking at these factions, nah. They have a hard enough time breaking through Dwarven boxes. Dwarves are better than Grand Cathay, but still, it's kind of it's the principle of the thing. Okay, I'm just reviewing a little thing sent to me by Sipa. Anyone know where I can view a meta build for multiplayer? I mean, all over this channel, son. Want to learn some good comps for Demons of Chaos. The lack of armor makes the frontline hard. Yes, it does. We haven't made our Demons of Chaos build guide yet, but in a lot of our tryhard events, like the World Cup had a lot of Demons of Chaos in it. Some of our Warlord qualifiers in the recent live streams had a lot of Demons of Chaos in them because the Demons of Chaos are rather strong right now, so they show up a lot in our tryhard events. So if you're looking for builds, just scroll through those live streams until you see the Demons of Chaos pop up. Otherwise, the build guide for them will be out in the coming month, but I've been trying to space those out so this channel doesn't just become build guides every single day. So if there's 24 factions, each needs a build guide. I'm spacing them out to every 2 or 3 days. That's 48 to 72 days to get those videos out. So I think we only have 11 factions left, but still. So if you're waiting on those, it's going to take some time. Partially because those videos take longer to make, but also partially because if I just did them all in a row, the audience that's not interested in that content would probably either unsubscribe or just not watch for long enough that they'd fall out of their recommended stuff. So it's not good channel management to just pump all those out. Armies are mostly set up for this. Let's get into it. For Kukinko and Nurgle, we have 2 Chaos Warhounds of Poison in the trees, 4 Skirmish Cav, of course, throwing axes because that's the only Skirmish Cav Nurgle has. We have the Angels of Decay, Plague Drones, Death Head ROR, Festering Stooges, Exalted Plague Bears of Nurgle ROR, 2 Plague Bears of Nurgle, 3 Nurglings, and Kugath Plague Father with Fleshy Abundance as his only spell. And then he has Plague Father's Oration for extra leadership and melee defense. He has his Nurgling heal, but he's going to need Nurglings to stick next to him to get that heal. On the other side, for the Warriors of Chaos, as you do versus Nurgle, every single time we see maximum amounts of ranged units. Now, the Warriors of Chaos don't have a ton, but they did take 6 Skirmish Cav, a mix of Throwing Axes and Marauder Horsemen. So a lot of shooting there. Frontline of Marauders, very limited frontline, honestly. And again, that makes sense. Nurgle has a solid frontline, but especially if they take Kugath or Festus, the Leech Lord, it's very difficult for you to bump and grind as Warriors of Chaos against Nurgle because Nurgle has healing, and your heavy armor doesn't save you from Festus's Drain or Kugath's Drain. those kinds of things. So you're just going to have a bad time. So armor doesn't help you. Chaos is, of course, just going to go with cheap Marauders. 2 Hellstriders of Sinesh with Hell Scourges. 1 Gorby's Chariot to break armored infantry. Because with Nurgle, they could be taking Chaos Warriors or Chosen. So Gorby's Chariot's good for that. I don't know what the Manticore's for. Cheap Terror, I guess. Maybe on Pestigors. But I generally am kind of down on Manticores these days. And then we do have Valkia. Valkia's just always a good lord. Spear of Sleipnir's good. Ooh, Pit of Shades caster. Pit of Shades, Melkoth's. Solid. This is very heavy into box breaking against Nurgle here. Whether it's a Chosen blob or a Chaos Warrior box or something like that around Kugath. So seeing Kugath, this is probably the exact build the Warriors of Chaos wanted. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win. It's just the build they prepared for. But this is one of the few matchups where Kugath can actually do quite well. Because you know the Warriors of Chaos have such limited ranged damage that it's actually very possible to just tank it out. As we do see a Pit of Shades onto the Festering Stooges. It takes a while to cast. They try to dodge it. They don't dodge all of it. I think that's an undercast, judging by how much damage it's doing. So it's going to be a good little poke, but an overcast would do a lot more. It's also riskier, though. If they dodge it, that's a lot of Winds of Magic to waste. So the undercast is fine. Good poke out on the Festering Stooges. Anyway, if the Angels of Decay and the other 4 Skirmish Cav of Nurgle waste a lot of the Marauder Horsemen's time and a lot of their ammunition, Kugath can actually just flat out carry this game in the late game. And the Warriors of Chaos, the only way they could have countered this is bringing a Hell Cannon. Hell Cannon could have done extremely well here, but that is some serious hindsight bias, because if Nurgle went with a super wide armored infantry push with some Pestigors, Chaos Warriors and stuff, then that Hell Cannon is going to be useless. So on a medium-sized map, it's risky. But now that we know Kugath's here, obviously it's easy to say, like, you should have brought a Hell Cannon, go! Random Cuban marches forward to take the point. Kugath's forces are super close by, though they will not have much issue getting to that point and taking it back themselves. Though I do think Nurgle maybe should have been a little more aggressive about taking the point. If the whole premise of this is just Kugath is going to tank this out, you do want to put pressure on your opponents to do things quickly, because the more time they have, the less mistakes they'll make. But if they're on a 10-minute timer to kill Kugath and all your forces and get the point back, they're more likely to panic and, you know, take bad trades, over-dive some things, just make bad developments. So he's going to start taking point now. Festering Stooges should be more than up to the task of killing off the Marauders as the Gorby's Chariots go running through Nurglings, doing a little bit of damage to those guys, knocking them around. And already we have our first Fleshy Abundance onto the Festering Stooges. Interesting. They have their own healing, so I don't know if they needed it, but maybe he's worried about a Spear of Sleipnir coming down on an already wounded Festering Stooges and knocking them out. Don't know. On the back line, the Warriors of Chaos securing an advantage, catching 2 Chaos Warhounds napping a bit. I don't know if they countercharged at all, but those dogs did get caught and they might get run off the map. So that's 900 free gold for the Warriors of Chaos. They do like that. Kugath has gotten to the point. They've almost captured it, which is the basis of how they win this. And man, the Gorby's Chariots got trucked on by something. I don't know if it was just the Nurglings or if it was all these skirmish cav, but losing that 1200 gold chariot this early is pretty bad. And already the 4 Marauders of the Warriors of Chaos, obviously they didn't invest a lot in their front line, and they're not getting a lot out of it. You pay a little, you get a little. The Marauders already routing off in most directions. Kugath lurks on the point, throwing his little Nurgling bombs into the Marauder Horsemen. And the Angels of the Decay also putting their time and effort into taking out the Skirmish Cav, like we said. That is Nurgle's whole plan. Take out the Skirmish Cav, win the game by just sitting on the point with Kugath. It's pretty straightforward. I see a blob forming here. I wouldn't be shocked if the Angels of the Decay were coming over to fire, because their cluster grenades can do a lot of damage to clumped up stuff. That is a lot of Hellstriders all in the same spot. The Angels of the Decay need to fire. There's a good volley out. Does a little bit of solid damage. I heard some sort of spell go down. Plaguefather's Oration to keep everybody in the fight for now. This is a good commitment in, though, from the Warriors of Chaos. Maybe a 2 clustered up, but I like the idea. We can see 2 of the 4 Marauder Horsemen are routing. A 3rd is also getting taken out, so Nurgle quickly goes down to 1 Skirmish Cav, able to counterfire and peel against the Warriors of Chaos Skirmish Cav. And he sacrificed Hellstriders to do it, and that's fine. Hellstriders were here for other things entirely, but seeing this build, he knows they have extremely limited effectiveness. There's not a lot of stuff to run down besides the Skirmish Cav. Anything else here is demonic. It's just going to crumble, right? And not a lot of it is lightly armored large units. So the Hellstriders suiciding to take out these Skirmish Cav, but now that they've pushed them outside the box, the Hellstriders can probably get over there and chase them off the map outright. So that's really solid sacrifice, good play. Ooh, very nice Spear of Sleipnir, going to hit 2 units. It's good poke. These Skirmish Cav, this is a big whoopsie. I've been singing the Warriors of Chaos praises, but they end up with 2 of their Skirmish Cav in melee with Kugath, and they just get pushed off for free. That was a whoopsie objectively. Not going to argue that it was planned in any format. Manticore stuck fighting the Festering Stooges, as Skirmish Cav are firing at the Death's Heads, but every piece of ammunition they use on those flighty Death's Heads is not going towards Kugath Plaguefather. I think Valkia can handle it in the sky. Maybe even if you get the Manticore back in the sky, he can help out too. But you really can't be spending this ammunition on those guys, because a lot of those shots are going to miss, right? Look at them all. Look at all these shots just going down nowhere because the Angels of Decay are so hard to hit. You just can't be doing that, unfortunately. Now, we do still have 3 Skirmish Cav firing at Kugath. That's a good amount. They can still take him down at this point. I just worry because, like, every mistake costs the Warriors of Chaos a lot. And if you make enough, you will just flat out run out of damage. You can't win this game, right? So that's why I'm so concerned. Kugath throws out some kind of heal for someone that's not himself. A Fecundity is down on everybody, and then a Fleshy Abundance happened somewhere. That felt weird. Fleshy Abundance onto an almost heal-capped Festering Stooges who can heal themselves. Ooh, I do not like that decision, Sam I Am. No, you don't need to heal them. You need to heal Kugath. They were going to heal cap anyway at that point. Gorby's Chariot's back in. Valkia's back in, but Valkia's not chasing down the Angels of Decay, and the Angels of Decay are going to get good grenades down on the back of these Marauder Horsemen, routing them. And I'm very, very, very concerned about the Warriors of Chaos. I know the balance of power says they're slightly ahead, but I would much rather be Nurgle right now. Valkia is in here trying to get out good damage. Plaguefather's Oration gives 88 melee defense to Kugath. Valkia needs to back off till that is at least worn down. We still have a lot of Plague Bears. We still have a lot of Nurglings. And the Marauder Horseman still back, still trying to throw. Kugath's getting low. Maybe you can take him out while Fleshy Abundance is on cooldown. Fecundity is on cooldown. We saw both of those things recently, but the Skirmish Cav are just getting too spooked. They're running in every direction. They're using some ammunition, trying to push away those Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes as well. That's not going great. Some of the throwing axes out of ammunition. Manticore gets pushed off by the Angels of Decay. And Valkia is still trying to duel Kugath, getting a bit of damage out, but his HP bar looks low, and you might be like, man, they're doing good. That boy has 6,000 HP left. His heal cap's not in sight. As soon as the next Fleshy Abundance is up, he's going to do just fine. Is this an Overcast Pit of Shades? It really needs to be. I don't know. If it is, that Nurgling should die outright. If it's not, it's just going to poke him a little bit. Fleshy Abundance onto Kugath, but Valkia is setting him on fire. That is really good from Random Cuban. I like that a lot. So Valkia setting him on fire while he is getting his Fleshy Abundance healed. Big time play from the Warriors of Chaos. Love to see that. I don't know if she should have been in this fight this whole time, but she is taking less damage than I would have suspected. So as long as it works out, it works out. But I think Kugath, if he had gotten 1 or 2 more good hits on her, that this would turn into a bad play for now. But Kugath is in danger. We know Fecundity is still on cooldown for a bit, that tier 2 army ability of Nurgle. And the Fleshy Abundance getting completely blocked out by that fire. Not completely, I shouldn't say that. That's over-exaggerating. It got cut in half, but still, we can see that Kugath really needed that heal. But the Marauder Horsemen are running dangerously low on ammo. 2 shots over here, 0, 4 on that very wounded one, 3 on this very wounded one, 5 on the one that's already running away, and the Marauder Horsemen of Nurgle are coming back in to make sure those guys keep routing. Valkia is doing so much work onto Kugath right now. How has he not been able to hit her? We all know he has fantastic melee stats. I wonder if he's not even swinging at her. As everybody dives in, Plaguefather's Oration gives him a bit more leadership and melee defense that he needs. He needs a Fecundity, or he needs another Fleshy Abundance. I think that Fleshy Abundance going onto the Festering Stooges is coming back to haunt him, as he would have wanted Kugath to be a little tankier. He's casting something on himself. Is it a Fleshy Abundance? It is. Is it Overcast? No, it's Undercast, which is just fine. He needed it anyway. Still, Valkia is setting him on fire. Still, his healing is halved. But the Angels of Decay making sure that Skirmish Cav can't get in range to help out. Kugath finally starts getting those hits he needs onto Valkia. She's down to half HP. And he gets a Fecundity, a big heal that he needed, and the Fecundity is spreading to all the Nurgle troops. There are 2 Plague Bearers that actually, their healing caps aren't in sight, so this Fecundity is doing a lot of work onto them. Valkia is taking a ton of damage, and Nurgle is starting to claw back into this game. Still down 3,000 damage value, but with all the healing he's been using, it is not shocking that is so. Melkos mystifying Miasma down onto some of the Plague Bears. Valkia really needs to back out of this fight and refresh her charge bonus if she insists on taking it, but she is not backing off. She just stays in it, which it worked out for her for a while. So for a while, I sounded like an old crank, just being like, she can't be there. She continues to body Kugath. I'm like, she can't beat Kugath as she continues to beat Kugath. But I promise you, if he hits her, he does a lot of damage. And then he finally hit her like 3 times in a row and showed what I was concerned about this whole time. Bounce power is back to 50-50. And now you're starting to see what I was worried about at the very start of the game. If too many mistakes are made, there is just flat out not the damage to win this game, as we're down to 1 Marauder Horseman that has any ammunition. And it is a pathetic amount as he throws throws at Kugath Plaguefather. But Valkia is back in onto the sides. Can Kugath get 1 or 2 good hits on her, knock this annoying gnat away, and he will win this game. But Valkia is the last force that can deal real damage to him. Anti-large, armor-piercing, fire damage, magic damage, everything you need to kill Kugath. And he is taking some damage. He hasn't been hit in a little while. 2,600 has been pretty consistent for him. His 58 melee defense is imposing versus her only 34 melee attack. She has not hit him in quite a while. Valkia is now surrounded and going to rout yet again as the Angels of Decay come back in. Valkia's team, the Warriors of Chaos, up on the bounce power for now, but she routes again away from Kugath Plaguefather. He is too scary. And we do have a full-ish health Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows. That definitely ups the bounce of power a little bit. Kugath, next Fleshy Abundance should go back onto himself. Again, his healing cap is close, so you might be like, he shouldn't cast it on himself. He could get 2,500 more HP from that. That is like an entire 2/3 of Valkia's total HP bar. You take those. Plaguefather's Oration is out. As these guys try and charge in, they immediately tear her out away. Another Melkoth's back down onto the Plague Bears, trying to get rid of them. Other Plague Bears close to demonic instability crumbling. Festering Stooge is close to just dying outright. They have 174 HP, but 29 leadership, so they are not going to crumble. They just have to die. And the Shadows Caster rear charges Kugath. He does get a couple hundred HP off of him there. If there are any Fleshy Abundance left, this game is over. But if Nurgle is out of healing, then the Warriors of Chaos have a chance, and only that. If I see Fleshy Abundance even start to cast, this game is over. As Kugath continues to stand, slap, throw little Nurglings around. The Angels of Decay back in the fight. The Hellstriders trying to kill off these guys. 174 HP still for the Festering Stooges. Plaguefather's Oration is worn off, though, and that means the Plague Bearers could actually, possibly, potentially crumble. As Marauder Horsemen get caught on the charge by the Angels of Decay, Curse of the Slug is also going to throw them down. Nurgle using tier 1 army abilities at this point in the game makes me think he doesn't have enough of fecundity, or he's swimming in so much army ability that he doesn't need it. Valkia is trying to rear charge the Angels of Decay with the help of the Marauder Horsemen, but it's not going to be enough as they rout away immediately. Kugath hasn't taken a hit from the Sorcerer in quite a while. He got hit in the rear one time, but after that he's been just fine. Valkia completely surrounded by Angels of Decay, getting knocked out. Terror out in from the Shadows Caster. And it was a close game, but we said it from the start. If the ammunition is not used perfectly, the Plaguefather cannot be defeated. And in melee, Valkia dove onto him and he had 2,600 HP. He had 2,600 HP 8 swings later. This Chaos Sorcerer of Shadows dove into him and he had 2,600 HP. He had 2,400 HP 8 swings later. You can't hit him in melee consistently. The ranged has to do the work. Kugath Plaguefather with 3,500 value and a ton of healing. Warriors of Chaos going to have crazy inflated values because of how much healing they had to try and burst through. Very good play taking out the Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. That was fantastic from the Warriors of Chaos. They also cut out these dogs for free. But it's hard not to shoot the Angels' Death's Heads, but I think you need to use all your ammo on Kugath because we saw how many of those Skirmish Cav shots just missed the Angels of Decay. You just can't hit them. They're too small. Valkia and the Shadows Caster both did fantastically. Hellstriders, the Hellscourges, considering you were fighting a blob build, they got better value than I think you could ever expect out of them. So really good job for Random Cubing to get that damage out. Gorby's Chariots just got murdered immediately. And the Skirmish Cav all paying for itself, all getting a lot of value, and yet I still demand more out of them. Manticore didn't get too much done either. All right. I don't know if we're making a new lobby or staying here, but I'm going to get caught up on chat while either Airstrikes joins this lobby or someone will ping me and tell me to go to a different one. All right. What happened to High Elves? Power creep? No, High Elves won earlier today. What are you talking about? I will not stand for this High Elf slander. High Elves made it to 2 out of the final 4 factions in the faction wars here. We had Dark Elves, High Elves, then we had Ogres, High Elves. The High Elves lost, but I'm just saying they got to the top 4. I don't know why a lot of people are saying High Elves are bad. They're not. You know how we talked about Warriors of Chaos being in the bottom half of factions? Not at the bottom, but in the bottom half somewhere. High Elves are the same for the top half. They're not the best faction in the game, but they are not even a mid-tier faction. They're fine. Like, okay, I guess they would be middle because middle has a broad range, but they're above 12th. There's 24 factions in the game. They are somewhere above 12. And there's a lot of people like, man, high elves are bad now. High elves need buffs. I'm like, high elves are chilling. I don't think they need nerfs, but I don't know if they need buffs. Some of their units could use buffs, like bad units, but every roster could say that. The most OP roster in the game, let's just say Dwarves, because Demons of Chaos is weird because they're 4 factions together, right? So let's just say Dwarves. Dwarves have individual units that need buffs, like Hammerers. Hammerers need buff. Hammerers are terrible. Terrible. They're just bad units, right? So Hammers need buffs. But would I say Dwarves as a whole need buffs? No. And that's how I feel about High Elves, where you can point to a lot of legitimate units on their roster that need buffs, like Silverhelms. Silverhelms are terrible. Things like that. But to say High Elves are weak right now is not correct. Did I say High Elves are weak or High Elves are insane? They're not insane. They're also not weak. They're mid. They are fine. Out of the 24 factions of this game, there are at least 14 that I would say need buffs before High Elves do. Is artillery banned in these matches? No. Almost certainly see the Merworm. Yeah, we're probably gonna get the Merworm. I know it's a purely aquatic monster, but they'll find a way to make it work in land battles and domination. I mean, like, I had to say and domination because I said land battles, but I did mean literally battles that occur on land, not the game mode land battles. Then you guys are just talking about high elf DLCs, which is fine. Human Boy, High Elf Suffering campaign, not multi. Okay, that is super true. Hat for a cat. I understand now. Yeah, no. Their campaign sucks. I don't know if it's underpowered, but it's definitely boring as dirt. I've tried to start a Tyrion campaign 4 or 5 times, and every time I get crazy bored and leave by like turn 30. Some of them are okay. Altharion's campaign is okay. It's not incredible, but it's fine. High Elves are definitely the weakest elf faction. I would agree with that. They're weaker than Wood Elves and Dark Elves, but Wood Elves and Dark Elves are currently really strong, so that's not... And I know you're not trying to discount my argument by saying they're the weakest of the 3 elves. I'm just saying for everyone else's context. I agree the High Elves are the weakest of the 3, but we see Dark Elves a ton. We see Wood Elves a ton, and they're doing very well, so it's like, I mean, okay. By the way, a shout out again. I know Jode was trolling or memeing or whatever he wants to say, but there are people out there who complain. Pasha, the Dark Elf player we saw in the game 1, that some people were like, you shouldn't let veteran players play in these tournaments. He didn't make top 4. Again, the player people are complaining about that shouldn't be in this tournament didn't make top 4. I hate when people get mad about that. I hate when they're like, why are all these veterans playing? Bro, they lost. You weren't complaining about Kukinko. You weren't complaining about airstrikes or random Cuban or Johnny Cash. Those are the top 4, not Pasha. What would you say are the least popular factions? Ran over to come watch. What up, Fireball Phoenix? Extinator. Extinator. Yes, Extinator. I'll answer your question in just a second. It's underpowered as hell. You can unlock tier 3 units at tier 4, tier 4 units at 5. This makes this worse as your growth is just so bad. No, your growth is terrible. The only reason I don't think they're crazy underpowered, I'm not a big campaign player, but I have played a good amount, is you can get through a lot of fights with just spear and archer spam versus AI. And then your ease of access to archmages for lords is amazing. Because some factions where you have to get a hero caster, you have to build up to get a tier 3 or a tier 4 building to get a hero caster. And then your unit slots are you have a lord and a hero. So 2 out of your 20 slots are taken up for that. High Elves, I do like that you can just early on recruit lords. And even the quote unquote terrible ones like I'm not an elite one. You didn't spend influence to get me, so I have a negative trait. My negative trait is I have -4 melee attack. Cool, bro. Can you cast Flock of Doom? Yes, you're in. Can you cast Flock of Doom from level 1? Hell yeah, you can. You're all I need. So just having easy access to archers and mages in the super early game makes me think halves are fine. Not, okay, fine. You know, in campaign, I do think they should get buffs, but yeah. They're not fine. Anyway, I was going to answer a question. So the answer is different for least popular factions and weakest factions, in case you were wondering. So for weakest, if I had to list the 4 weakest factions, I would say Chaos Dwarves, Vampire Counts, Nurgle, and Norska, personally. Least popular, it is probably Grand Cathay. They're not very popular. Their campaign is popular in like China, but I'm a multiplayer caster, so multiplayer, I don't see a lot of them. So Cathay is definitely one of the least popular. Chaos Dwarves is one of the least popular. Nurgle is one of the least popular. The 2 of the bad factions are also least popular. Grand Cathay is a good faction, but they're not as popular. It's hard to think about what's least popular because you don't see it all the time. So then you kind of forget they exist. Least popular. Dwarves are unfortunately very popular. Honestly, Warriors of Chaos. Yeah. Warriors of Chaos is probably one of the 4 least popular factions now. In Warhammer 2, they were very popular, but I think the Chaos fan base has gotten divided because of all the demons. So some people who used to really like the Warriors of Chaos were actually Nurgle fans, but Nurgle wasn't in the game. So then when Nurgle comes out, you know, those Warriors of Chaos players that were trying to cosplay as Nurgle go and play Nurgle instead. Same with Khorne, same with Slanesh, same with Zenith. So you're bleeding off all these extra players. And then they're not super strong in the meta, and they haven't been for a while. They're okay. We talked about that earlier. They're okay. They're not terrible. But they haven't been super strong in the meta. So then you have players that only play the strong factions and play to win. Well, they're also not going to play Warriors of Chaos. So I feel like the Warriors of Chaos fan base just got pulled apart from multiple directions. And now the only people you have playing Warriors of Chaos are like diehards. I like specifically the Warriors of Chaos Undivided, which is not a lot of people. Vampires? No, vampires are still pretty popular. I think they're bad, but they're very popular. In multiplayer, at least. Multiplayer, a lot of people play Coast, a lot of people play Tomb Kings, and not a ton of people play Vampire Counts. But there are Vampire Counts diehards that will play them even when they're bad, like Berserk, like Alfredino, like Salinator. Crabling probably still plays them. Lenorm still plays them. That's where my bias comes from, is in my community of multiplayer players, I can list 5 or 6 Vampire Counts mains. If you ask me for Warriors of Chaos mains, I can literally think of Nullnish and Hayseed. That's it. There might be other ones, but off the top of my head, I come up with 2. And for the Vampire Counts, I come up with 6. So that's where I think the Warriors of Chaos have fallen in popularity, is I just can't think of their mains anymore. Okay, we have a game to cast. I'm going to refuse to acknowledge chat's existence for a bit. This is the finals. One of these 2 players winning this game will net them a free DLC of their choice from CA. They will also be invited to participate in an extra tournament. As soon as the next patch drops, we'll get that organized. So on the next big patch, we will see La Luna La Pruna, Jack something, and I always forget his name and I always have to look it up, but now I'm going to stall by talking really fast as I look it up. Jackerskins. And one of these 2 players, plus 1 more, which will be determined Friday, February 21st. It's upcoming Friday. We'll get those 4 players together, do quick semifinals and finals on the new patch, showing off whatever changes in the patch. And whoever wins that will get all of the DLC that they do not have for Warhammer 1 and 2 gifted by me. So, this is the final game. Which of you gets guaranteed a free DLC and an opportunity to get every DLC that exists? Nurgle or Grand Cathay? I have to say, based off of faction strength, Nurgle is probably strongly disfavored here, but we'll see what Kukinko has cooked up. We do have 2 Pestigors, a Nurgling, 5 Marauders, 1 Chosen of Nurgle, a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with Rancid Visitations and Stream of Corruption, 3 Chaos Furies, and then double Soul Grinder of Nurgle Kite, including the Noxbringer, who I generally don't think is very good, but in this matchup is quite solid. His ammo destroying, his ammunition destroying ammunition, yes, that is a sentence that makes sense if you really think about it, is great versus Grand Cathay, because if you fire it at the cannon, he himself will not do much damage to the cannons, but his ammo reduction can quickly take these cannons out of the game and turn them just into a full health melee infantry unit that sucks, and then your Soul Grinders can just kite a ton. We'll see how well they can kite on this map. This map is medium sized, so it's not like they can run around in circles forever. They could get cornered by Grand Cathay, but we'll see. So double soul Grinder Kite. For Grand Cathay, it is another box formation. Now, Nurgle saw what happened to Lizardmen, does not want to pile into melee with this box formation, so they are going to try and kite them. We have Peasant Archers, the Grace of Ki-In. Then we have a Dragon Shogun, Lorn of Yin with Talons of Night, Ancestral Warrior Summon, and the Storm of Shadows Slow. Nice dodge from the Soul Grinders. We do have 1 cannon, Peasant Long Spears and Jade Warrior Halberd front lines, and a single Jade Lancer for a bit of peeling. And I think I mentioned the War Drum, but we have the War Drum. So again, all of this Grand Cathay build is going to be ITP. But you can see, look at that ammunition. Look at it. They fired 1 volley. They went from 22 to 6 now because of that Soul Grinder. So as soon as the Noxbringer gets 2 or 3 more hits onto that cannon, Grand Cathay will be completely outranged by Nurgle and need to march forward endlessly. Another good hit of the Erosion. Ammunition still at 15. I thought it would fall more than that. So they lost 1 ammunition that time. The other time they lost 5. That feels a bit random and stupid, but I don't know exactly how that corrosion works. The regular Soul Grinder should not be firing at the cannon. There's another corrosion of ammunition down to 13. The regular Soul Grinder, yeah, good targeting onto the Iron Hill Gunners. Very, very smart. This cannon is not firing. I think he was getting obstructed by all the Jade Lancers in his own way, so the Noxbringer gets another shot onto him. And another hit. So yep, that ammunition goes down again, down to 10 ammo for the cannon. Ancestral Warrior Summon coming out is really bold. I mean, if they get up to these guys, they'll slow them, but they're not nearly fast enough to catch these Soul Grinders, so I guess he's just going to force them backwards. The cannon has been forced to move forward to stay in the formation and not get left behind for the Furies to pick off for free, but that means he's just moving and not firing. Now, Grand Cathay, this is Conquest mode. They're going to move up and take the point and then hope that the Soul Grinder Kite takes too long. The cannon is already down to 8 ammunition left, but it's not like the Soul Grinders have infinite ammo either. 11 shots on this guy, 9 on the Noxbringer. Noxbringer, ooh, really good double hit on the Grace of Ki-In and the cannon. Cannon's down to 5 ammunition. I know I'm obsessing about the ammunition of the cannon, but after the cannon's ammo is out, the Soul Grinders are free and clear to do whatever they want. 1 more good volley from the Noxbringer could knock this thing out of ammunition entirely. Down to 2. And gets that double hit on the Grace of Ki-In, which so far has been actually really lucky for Nurgle here. Ancestral Warrior Summon being burned is pretty brutal. A lot of Winds of Magic and 1 of your 2 summons just going away to nothingness, but it is forcing the Soul Grinders back, I suppose. Noxbringer, is this the final volley for the cannon? Yep. Cannon's out of ammo. Stop shooting at it. Never shoot at it again. It's not worth your time. Please don't shoot at it. Nurgle. Yeah. Switches. Really good target party here from Kukinko. Fires down into the Pit of Despair. Really good hit on the Iron Hill Gunners. And now the ammunition destruction isn't as big of a deal because you're hitting things with such large ammo pools that they're not realistically going to run out anyway. So at this point, all of your shots are for damage. The ammo cheesing, the ammo focusing, whatever you want to call it, is done now that the cannons are out of ammo. Hi, Stormzilla. Vlad can turn to a giant Fellbat in his SFO now, just putting that out there. That's kind of cool. But if the Undead do get something like the Champions of Chaos DLC, it will be when Nagash comes out. Yeah, that'll be lit. I really do hope that they go with all of the Undead get a DLC together. I think that would be dope. Peasant Archers getting attacked by Chaos Furies. Now, Chaos Furies of Nurgle do have higher defensive stats, meaning they don't do as much damage in a burst, but they can still do okay against Peasant Archers. Now, this is the problem with Chaos Furies. Again, these guys are not cheap. Like, I say that a lot, but a lot of people just kind of assume, well, he lost some Furies, it's pretty whatever. That's 600, 650 gold, depending on the Fury type. Like, that is not nothing to lose. as these peasant archers get routed. So I do think that's actually a mistake from Nurgle. I think Nurgle was in a good game state. I thought they were doing just fine and probably should have saved these Furies for a little later, because now they're just getting burst out. We're going to lose maybe 1,800 and 1,900 gold worth of Nurgle units for kind of free. Like, they're getting a little damage on the peasant archers, but your soul grinders are already doing that. I don't know. I think like this exact play should happen, and from Nurgle it's a good play after the soul grinders run out of ammo. But let the soul grinders hit all this stuff, because soul grinders also do more damage the more HP and models you have. So lowering the HP and models of these guys is actually going to make them harder for the soul grinders to get good hits on. So I just think the order of operations there was not correct, personally. Now, Nurgle is doing very well overall. I don't want to say that one Fury play that I disagree with just makes this whole game doomed. Not even close. The Soul Grinder Kite has been beautiful. They've knocked out a ton of Grand Cathay range units. And I didn't even notice this happening, but perfect spell usage, just casting Rancid Visitations Overcast on the Dragonblooded Shugenin Lord. She is on horseback, but her HP pool is still low, and Grand Cathay does not have healing on their roster unless you take Miao Ying. So the guaranteed Rancid Visitations value is fantastic. Very good spell priority there. I do detest when people take Rancid Visitations and then just spam out Stream of Corruption anyway and don't give themselves enough Winds of Magic ever to use it, because it's so powerful at killing the enemy lord. And Grand Cathay, as we know, is a strong leadership faction, so taking out their lord can actually make them rout once in a while, which is quite nice. Kukinko again dodging with the Chaos Sorcerer of Nurgle, as the Grace of Kian moved up to get a couple pieces of damage out. Now we do have Marauders and Pestigors moving up. There's a Chosen in here! I forgot about you! Ooh, Chosen can kill a lot of Grand Cathay infantry if given time. They're trying to march through that front line. That could be huge. But we are on a bit of a timer. Nurgle can't take forever. We have 1/3 of the victory tickets ticked up by Grand Cathay. They're sitting down in this gorge. They still have the Zhengdu War Drum. Soul Grinder ROR is out of ammo. The regular Soul Grinder has 2 shots left. And here comes the second Ancestral Warrior Summon, and this is a really good cast. The first one I didn't like at all, but this one is amazing. With the Disdain of the Dragon Emperor buff on full armor-piercing ghost units, those are going to chew through the Chosen of Nurgle so quickly. In comes the Rancid Visitations to finish off the Dragonblooded Shugenin Lord, but she did get her second summon out, and that is going to damage the Chosen quite badly, and the Chosen would have been crucial. But like, think about it. Now both of the Soul Grinders are out of ammo. I don't want to keep harping on this, but it's important for your games at home, not for this game right here. Now imagine the Furies coming in. With all of these guys scattered to the winds and so damaged, and these guys so low, the Furies come in, they fly in. I don't think they had to come in as early as they did, and it really might hurt Nurgle's possibility of winning this game because they were doing so well. Fecundity out to try and heal the Chosen that the Ancestral Warriors are just massacring right now. The Chosen Nurgle are forced to fall back. Now the Poxbringer, Noxbringer jumps in. His Terror should be good here. Oh yeah, everything's ITP because of the Zhengdu War Drum. Never mind. He is not going to get too much done, and we do have Iron Hill Gunners trying to get a good shot onto him. Still have 33 out of 90 models, still a decent amount of damage they can put out on the Noxbringer, and we see that is coming in as the other Soul Grinder moves up. Now the Stream of Corruption start. There's no reason to spend the rest of your Winds of Magic on Rancid Visitation, so Stream of Corruption onto infantry all day long. The Chosen are back in it for a little bit. They terror routed away from the Ancestral Warriors. I just realized that. Wow, you guys aren't even ITP. Chosen Nurgle, you're trash. Pestigor's trying to fight against Peasant Long Spears, but Peasant Long Spears are crazy strong still, and with Peasant Archers firing over the top. Nurgle taking a lot of damage. Nurgle's up 2,000 damage value. The Ancestral Warrior Summon has finally faded, which is huge for Nurgle. Now their Soul Grinders won't take nearly as much damage, and of course their Chosen can maybe get back in this. Chosen need a bit of healing, hopefully more tier 2 Fecundities because their Lord has no healing to offer them whatsoever. I guess the slow Stream of Corruption spam will also win out. I actually think Nurgle is in a really good spot to win this, though. They killed the enemy Lord, which is fantastic. They've dealt with all the ranged units for the most part, which is great, and now they're just grinding through melee, which they are slowly winning. Even though the Chosen took a lot of damage from that second Ancestral Warrior Summon, Jade Warrior Halberds and Peasant Long Spears aren't built for this kind of thing. They don't love fighting Marauders. They don't love fighting Chaos Warriors. They love fighting big things. Like we saw in the Lizardmen game, they love fighting those Kroxigors and those Cold One Riders. They did great against that, and then the Skinks just didn't matter. Cathay does not do nearly as well when the infantry actually matters, like Chosen. Now they're doing fine against Marauders and Pestigors, right? They did great there. But the Chosen are going to be a problem, is what I'm trying to get to. Nice job from the double Soul Grinders to snipe out the Zhengdu War Drum. That will get rid of that pesky ITP and make it much easier for Nurgle to take over the central ground because they can start terror routing stuff off. Also, everybody will lose that plus 10 melee attack, plus 8 melee attack, sorry. So that will probably be the death knell as Nurgle continues to increase their lead up to about 3,000. Some Peasant Archers have come back. Some Iron Hill Gunners are maybe going to come back. We do have Jade Lancers cycle charging around. But if we can get another Fecundity onto the Chosen, that'll probably seal out this game. As 2 Soul Grinders is a lot for some half-dead spears and a couple archers to kill. As that archer actually just shattered because spooky, I guess. Cathay's out of damage. It was beautiful Soul Grinder kite in from Kukinko. And it's looking like Nurgle's gonna take it, dude. End of stream, you should do a free-for-all. I would, but I have many things to attend to. Zengdu War Drum still fighting with the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Peasant Long Spears pushing off Marauders, but not Chosen. Haven't gotten rid of the Chosen. Ah, Chosen! I like watching those Chosen charge in, and one of them just stumbled right in the front. Can you imagine being a Chosen or Nurgle and stumbling into a Peasant Long Spear and just getting poked in the face? Nice Stream Corruption down the side. Balance Power is going to Army Losses territories. The Zhengdu War Drum is 400 HP from finally falling. These single entities of Nurgle have been working on it for a long time, but those 2 angry cows take a lot to die. A lot. Look at how long they take to die. Look at them. Look at them all. Just sitting there. T-posing. Army Losses finally hits, and Kukinko will advance. All right. I just type into CA, and that I've been kind of on a soapbox about chariots and war machines not having correct hitboxes. Think of steam tanks, think of land ships, think of Scourge Runner chariots, think of war wagons, think of any freaking chariot in the game that's trying to run away. And I just watched the Zhengdu War Drum T-pose on top of 2 single entities, and the single entities couldn't seem to figure out how to get to it and hit it. Now, obviously, they hit it every once in a while, but I'm just increasing to my list that I'm poking to CA, and I'm just like, dude, like, literally every chariot in this game has issues with stuff T-posing on it. Like, can we just increase their hitboxes? Like, make their hitboxes way bigger, so if something gets close-ish to it, it'll swing at it and try and hit it, because everything tries to path towards the very center of a chariot model, and if they don't have a long enough attack arc, they're not going to be able to hit it, so then they just T-pose. It's really annoying. I don't think the Zhengdu War Drum is problematic, but it's just another chariot that is strangely tanky in melee, and I'm like, this needs to stop. Corpse cards too. Corpse cards get into melee forever and just don't die, because a lot of things don't swing at them. As for this game, the double Soul Grinders both did great. Chaos Furies got largely massacred. Chosen didn't get a lot of value, but I guess they were important in the late game. Marauders did okay, but it was mostly just the Sorcerer Lord and the double Soul Grinders doing all of the work. For Grand Cathay, they got kited out after their cannon was shut down. They were at the mercy of the Soul Grinders and just spent most of the game tanking shots in a pit, trying to wait it out. And they almost did, but it wasn't quite enough. Yeah, cannon only got 120 value from just getting shot by the Noxbringer. GG's, lads. Win for Nurgle. CA hates when the game is programmed correctly. There is a lot of stuff that is correct. The stuff that isn't correct is just glaringly, like, in your face about it. But, like, there's a lot of things that work correctly. And the game has been getting better. It's just, I just personally have a vendetta against chariots. A vendetta that will never be quenched. Not with the blood of 1,000 chariots, but 10,000, but 1,000,000. 1,000,000. Bye, Will. Bye, everybody. We'll go raid Tequila Sunset if he's still streaming. And then I gotta go work on a bunch of videos because people want videos. So there. Go say hi to Tequila. Goodbye, everybody. Congratulations to Kukinko for the win. very strong runner-up from the 1001 Airstrikes. He had a dominant performance, but the Nurgle Soulgrinder Kite finally brought his rampage to an end.